Episode 202 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by the Adelphi Racing Club, Hawthorne Racecourse, Chicago's hometown track, and Stable Duel Fantasy Horse Racing Game.
You've picked your power forward. Your all-star receiver keeps scoring. Now it's time to race across the finish line and put even more points on the board. Download the Stable Duel app and get in on the thrill of horse racing. Choose your horses, your jockeys, your track, and win thousands in daily games competing against other players. Move up the annual leaderboard and bring home real cash prizes daily. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
And now let's start episode 202 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 202, our Breeders' Cup Championship Saturday preview blowout special. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Do we have an incredible show for you? I can't wait to talk about Breeders' Cup Saturday. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. First of all, subscriptions have been exploding. We really appreciate your support. After you do that, hit that notification bell, which will tell you when new content will arise, and then also smash that like button, that thumbs up button. That basically will just tell anyone who watches YouTube to check out the HHH Racing Podcast because of the quality of the show. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter on my name tag at @HKravitz. And if you're a fan of the show, the Breeders' Cup, you're going to want to follow me on Twitter. I've got a bunch of new followers. I'm going to be sending out pictures, videos from Keeneland. I think most of you know by now. I will be at Keeneland. I'm leaving tomorrow. I cannot wait. I'm going to have a lot of exciting information for you out there on Twitter. Pictures from the paddock, reports, pre-race information, etc. And of course, you can reach me by email at the bottom of the screen, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. And also on the bottom of the scroll right there, Monday is our last official Breeders' Cup show. It'll be a recap and reaction show this Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So check us out there. Of course, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. We really appreciate your support on those listening platforms if you cannot watch us. Power picks. Now, I want to be very clear. Just so I know we got people backstage listening. Like 5 minutes ago, we got 3 more subscribers for the power picks. It's crazy. Power picks are only $16 for the entire month, which means it's $4 a weekend, which means if you subscribe right now, you'll get our entire multi-page Breeders' Cup blowout editions for Friday and Saturday for $4. That's it. We don't upcharge here. We're not going to charge you $30, $70, $100 like you see with other outlets online. We're not going to do that to you. $4. That's it. If you want the Breeders' Cup edition, though, you're running out of time. You really need to sign up tonight, or I'd say tomorrow by, I'd say the very latest noon Eastern time Thursday, because once I'm traveling tomorrow and frankly this weekend, it's gonna be hard for me to get out a lot of administrative information. I want to enjoy the weekend. It's just gonna be too difficult. So if you do want our picks for the Breeders' Cup specifically, which will give you a full month of picks, by the way, please sign up. The information is below the video player. You can see it on the screen. It's through Patreon. What do we have on these picks? Spot plays, price plays, full race preview. Every race that we have, we're going to cover like a glove. All of our hosts are involved. We're going to give you ABC grids from myself, Pete, Paul, and Kyle. I'm going to give some horizontal plays, deep dives. It's a tremendous, and it's $4. You're not going to get a better value. Check out our power picks, especially for this weekend. But you really need to sign up extremely soon. If you're watching this at replay, again, Thursday noon Eastern is probably about as late as we can go to get those power picks out to you. We also have a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Check that out. All right. I think that is all the promos I want to discuss. Let's bring on two guys who, I mean, I can't say enough good things about these two. So, but I want to say to their face. So let me go ahead and bring them on. My two loyal co-hosts who have done a crap ton of work, especially these last few weeks, from the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran, and from Maryland, Pete Visco.
I
Paul,
thought there was no sleep, Paul. I thought it was no
Oh.
sleep till Breeders' Cup. We're not there yet.
Jesus.
Stay awake.
As
Oh,
someone,
man.
as
Guys,
someone
how
would
we
say,
doing?
Howard, if I did this much work in college, I would have had a much better GPA.
That's a labor of love, right? Guys, first of all,
the best.
before we bring on my co-host, I got something I want to say. Or I'm sorry, our guest. I guess I want to say to both of you. These two guys, ladies and gentlemen, have worked their butts off, especially the last 2 weeks. I brought them on as co-hosts officially, I think around Kentucky Derby time. Guys, it's been 6 months already. Can you believe it's been 6 months? I did a little soul searching and reminiscing today, look back at a few things. This show has increased its expertise, its quality dramatically because of you two, and also shout out to Kyle Roscoe, who's been also fantastic. I just want to thank you guys publicly for all the work you've done for our friendship. You know, when you have this kind of show, there's always going to be some little, fights and quabbles, etc. That's what brothers do. I love both you guys. I really appreciate everything you've done. And Paul, a lot of people who are watching may not know, but we're kindred spirits. And I really didn't think about this. I feel guilty, but I didn't really think about this until the last day or two because I've just been so damn busy. But for those of you who don't know, Friday will mark the 5-year anniversary that Paul's father and my father passed away on the exact same day. It was the Saturday of Breeders' Cup at Del Mar 5 years ago. Paul, I'll be thinking about you this weekend. I know our fathers are going to be looking down on us, wishing us good luck and helping our horses cross the wire, man. So I just want to say I'll be thinking about you. Love both you guys. And this is absolutely a labor of love. And Paul, I'm sure the Clancy brothers pay you just handsomely. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe, right?
Hey, look, it is. You hit the nail. And actually, Howard, but today is the exact 5-year anniversary. My dad, actually, I got the call. It was Thursday going into the Del Mar
I'm sorry.
Breeders'
I
Cup.
thought it was the same. I apologize.
And now that you mention it, it was November, exactly November 2nd. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
this is what it's all about. I mean, today is Christmas. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve for horse players. It's hard to explain to people, out of our circle. You know what I mean? That other people are trying to get on with their lives this week. I've been trying to get a little work done and keep the clients happy, but I want to make sure that all my work was turned in on time to Professor Howard because I can't get a bad grade, Pete.
No, we got it. We have to stay. We have hard deadlines. It's like
I got it in.
Yeah.
I was in before noon today. I just want to say
Hey,
that for the record.
By the way, Howard, on a different note, my father's birthday is actually Friday, November 4th.
Oh, wow.
So his
Nice.
birthday is always around
Wow.
Breeders' Cup. So he's actually
How bizarre is all this?
That's sort of a crazy coincidence.
That's the good karma, Pete. So and
aside from the fact that he loses all the time, I'm sorry, Pop, but so I'm not sure the karma helps him all that much, but we'll stick with it.
Well, anyway, guys, again, I appreciate all the work you've done. It's been a great journey, and it's just going to keep continuing. And the subscribers have gone way up. I mean, everything's just been tremendous. We get people all the time join the show. Guys, we got a lot to talk about, and we got 9 races to cover. I want to jump right in, and we've got a guy coming on. He's been one of my favorite guests, and I got a lot of texts, by the way, and emails after Chad Schexnayder has been on our show twice already. Said, you guys got to bring Chad back on. He's a great guy. He's got strong opinions. He brings it. So without further ado, guys, to help us through this championship Saturday card, let's bring him on from the Fairgrounds podcast, a great guy, an excellent handicapper, Mr. Chad Schexnayder. Chad, how you doing, buddy?
Okay, guys, how are y'all doing, man? Good to see everybody again. Appreciate those power
Welcome,
picks.
Chad.
Strong.
Welcome again.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Chad. How's everything going in NOLA, man? What's up in NOLA?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Been a dry season. I don't know if you saw, we got Fairgrounds starting on November 18th, I think, 18th or 19th, that Friday. I went out to the track yesterday morning, watched some workouts yesterday morning. So there we go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Watched some workouts yesterday morning. So we got some horses on the backside getting ready. We'll see how it goes. It should be a fun meet, though.
Oh, no, it's going to be tremendous. By the way, if there's another wrong button press, guys, I'm running on fumes. I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but I'm going to do the best I can tonight. Sorry about that little faux pas there. Yeah, Fairgrounds starts soon. They increase purses, I see. It's going to be a great meet. We'll talk about it later, but it's going to be a great meet, right, Chad?
No, it should be, definitely. Looking forward to the same teams coming back for the second year in a row. Kevin Kilroy, Joe Christopher, John Dooley. So we haven't had that kind of continuity every year after year, but they're starting to build that up on the racing side, so that's a good thing.
Beautiful. Anyone listening, we want you to comment in the chat. We've had incredible viewership. Pete, Paul, and Chad, how about this? This is our 7th Breeders' Cup show for this year. The 7 shows.
Wow.
A few I've done on my own. A lot of them with Pete and Paul. We're going to have close to 12 hours, Chad, of Breeders' Cup coverage on this podcast alone. And when it's all said and done, guys, we're going to have close to 20,000 views with all of our spread across all of our shows. That ain't no Fairgrounds podcast, but we do our best here.
Well, man, I hope one year, hopefully Fairgrounds, I don't know how they would do it, but if Keeneland can do it, I hope that Breeders' Cup would come to Fairgrounds one year.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. But again, the support's been tremendous. We really appreciate everyone that's been. And Chad, there's a lot of choices out there. Last thing I'm going to say, there is paralysis by analysis, right, guys? I mean,
no doubt.
People can listen to 1,000 podcasts. Everyone's got the winning horse. Listen, I would pick and choose your spots, everyone. I'm glad you're joining us tonight, or you're watching us as a replay or listening as a replay. Pick your spots. I'd like to believe we're one of the best podcasts out there on YouTube. We give tremendous information, and we really appreciate all the support. Jeff Moore, wow, from Resort. He's already there, Paul, warming up.
I'm coming for him tomorrow.
All right, very good. Guys, let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about all 9 races. These are just the 9 races on Saturday, and it's going to start race 3. The weather, I've looked at the weather, guys. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but they are a chance of rain now Saturday. I don't know. Who the hell knows, Paul? It never rains there.
We don't worry about weather. No weather.
It is going to be very windy. I've talked about the wind before. I don't know if it's going to play or not, but it is going to be very windy. There's like gusts up to 30 miles per hour on Saturday. So I just wanted to bring it out there. But the weather's been good there this week. The turf's going to be, I don't know about firm, but, be a solid good, I would say. It's going to be fair for everyone. No real excuses that I can see. Let me go ahead and bring up, guys, the first race that we're going to talk about, and I'll bring up our let me hit a few buttons here. Let me take this banner off. There we go. And I'm going to go full screen, and then I'll bring up our picks on the bottom of the screen. Most of you know the drill. If you watch the show, you're going to see picks on the bottom of the screen. None of our co-hosts and guests have seen these until right now. Oh, there they are. Hold on a second. I didn't do the ticker. Hold on. I told you guys there might be a few issues here tonight. All right. We didn't get the ticker going. There we go. That's going to happen for the first few banners, by the way, but I'll switch it.
Boy,
race
Howard,
3.
Look at that. Look at this, Howard.
What's that? Howard 785. Pete!
Look at this.
Hold on a second.
What the
Pete,
hell?
Why do you think the hell I have you on the show all these months, man?
I mean, I didn't know you're going to just start copying my picks. I mean, I know you're tired, but
Pete, you knew who he was picking, Pete.
I know.
Lock of the weekend.
You're copying my picks. What the hell?
Shoot,
all right, anyway. Chad, this is how it goes now. Sometimes we just don't get along. The first race, guys, is race 3 of the Breeders' Cup races. Filly and Mare Sprint, grade 1. These are all grade 1s. This is $1 million. Own 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's a big field. You got a lot of big fields. I'm going to scroll down. You can see it right there. It goes down to 13. Morning favorite is the number 8, Goodnight Olive. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz. Chad, you're going to be going first. Okay. Almost on actually the first bunch of races, then we'll switch it around. Chad is going to go with the number 4, last year's Breeders' Cup champion out of Del Mar, CC, for Mike McCarthy, Victor Espinoza.
Yeah, I love CC. I mean, look, she's the champ. You got to beat the champ. 7 furlongs is her specialty. Half her $2.3 million bankroll has been earned at 7 furlong distance. I just think she's going to trip out. I think she's going to get the pace she wants to run at. I think she's working well. She comes into this race exactly the same as she did last year. The 2 prior races last year were the Ballerina and the Chillingsworth over at Santa Anita. She did the same exact thing this year. I think Mike McCarthy's a very good trainer. 4-1's a decent price on her. I think she's going to trip out. I think she'll get the first run on the speed as they start to go. And I think she's going to hold off the deep closers. And like Obligatory, she has to hold her off. I can tell you, if this race was at Churchill Downs, I'd probably have Obligatory first. But at Keeneland, it's a little bit different. I got CC first, and I threw a bomb in second, Chi-Town Lady. I know she's a 3-year-old facing older, but this is Wesley Ward's playground. She's been training at Keeneland since early September. She's another closer. I just think there's a lot of pace in this race. And if it's run fair, the track's fair, I think they're going to come back, and these closers and stalkers are going to have something to say. So I went with CC as kind of that stalker pressure type. Chi-Town Lady's a closer. Obligatory's a closer. Those are my top 3. I'm looking for a meltdown.
I completely agree with you from a pace perspective. And being a Chi-Town guy, it's going to be hard for me to leave Chi-Town Lady completely off my ticket. I think she'd be a nice underneath horse. My main question with CC, Chad, is she as good this year as she was last year?
Well, that's the big question for sure, and can she take her game, from California over to Keeneland? I think she's going to be a little higher than 4-1, to be honest with you, with Echo Zulu. I think she'll take a little more money, even though she's drawn outside. I think you get at least 4-1, maybe more. To me, I just kept looking for something in here, and I was kind of saying, you know what, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, right? And she's the champ right now, and they brought her back for this year for this, and I think she's like I said, I think she'll just get the trip, and we'll see what happens.
Thanks, Jeffrey Amster mentioned that Andy Serling also went 7.85. Everyone has different opinions of Andy. I'm a big fan personally, so the fact that we have the same 3 makes me feel pretty confident. Pete, let's go to you. Well, listen, we got the same horses. We're thinking the same thing. Chad already mentioned Obligatory. I think most people on this channel know my love for Obligatory. She's one of my daughters. My only concern, Pete, with this horse, I don't know if you feel the same way. She's got one, sort of bad race on the page, and it was at Keeneland. I don't know why. I don't know what happened that day. I remember betting her that day. She was the favorite. It was a much weaker race than this, and she was absolutely awful. That literally is my only concern.
Yeah, but I mean, that race was so bad that I can't imagine it was just the track. I mean, it's not like Keeneland is so crazy different that the track. I mean, look at her. I mean, you're looking at the running line right there. I mean, she just dropped back to last. It's just like this one of those days where she just didn't have it and she had nothing. So, and it was last year. I feel like her form's a lot better this year right now. So I'm not too concerned about that. If it was multiple races, maybe I'd be more concerned. But one you can forgive is just hey, maybe it was just a bad day. We all have them. Maybe she did too.
Yeah, and you know what I like about her? I mean, she's obviously a closer, but she has become more tactical, Pete. If you watch her this year, there's been some races, guys, where she's not like 10 lengths back. I do agree with Chad, though. I think she's probably a little better in Kentucky, especially at Churchill. But damn, Pete, there's so much speed in this race. It just sure looks someone's going to have to come over the top. And I think Obligatory's the best closer.
Yeah, and I mean, she's dealt with, you see 2 back there by the blue figure. She's dealt with some slow paces. So, and even the last one was just sort of moderate and she just couldn't get going. But I think this one, I mean, if you look at it, and Chad mentioned it, I mean, if you look at the time form, there's what, 700+ plus time form early pace figures in this one. So this race has to heat up, and that's just up her alley. And the one thing I did like too is 2 back. We talked about this last night, sort of the differences between Beyer and time form. Time form maybe takes pace a little bit more into account. The race in the Bed of Roses, she only got a 99 Beyer, which I say only, which is pretty good, but she got a 125 time form, which is on par with basically everyone else, all the other top contenders, if not better. So I think even the fact that now she's going to get some pace to run into is just going to benefit her in the lane, which she just hasn't had that opportunity in some of these races.
This was one of the better prep races I thought of the year. A Goodnight Olive wins this race, getting a perfect trip here at the 7. And you see CC and Obligatory, our 2 horses, Chad, we just thought are in the back of the pack. They both sort of had, they both had excuses, I thought, a little bit. They're taking Paul. It was a weird surface that day, Paul, I thought.
I was there. It was the day after the Travers. They moved this race back to the Sunday of Travers weekend. I will respectfully disagree that on the trip angle. I thought both of them did not run well at all in that race. which is why I don't have either one of them in the mix in this race.
I mean, fair enough. Let's talk about Midnight Olive. Let's see, Paul, do you got Midnight? Paul, I'll let you talk about Midnight Olive. This is my second choice, Pete's second choice. We just saw her win that race. She's really exploded. I mean, I was really surprised when she won the ballerina, but it's not as if she wasn't good before. She just hadn't done it in stakes company. She's working well. There's really not there's a hard not to I can't even talk. There's not a lot to knock about this Chad Brown trainee, other than I guess the obvious is she can do that again in this stage.
Yeah, well, the issue with her has been physical issues. You know, she debuted not till she was 3, and then immediately she was on the shelf for 7 months. And then once she came back, she had 2 winning races, and then she was on the shelf for another 7 months. So, you know, Chad Brown has the luxury of being as patient as anyone, and he was very patient with this horse. But, you know, she's 5 for 6 lifetime in good form. You know, this was one of the races that I did the capsule for, Howard, for the power picks, which everyone should have. And I did pick her, but I picked her second, Howard. You will note that I am a lone wolf in the Echo Zulu. No one likes Echo Zulu. They're on bad belting her, so the price is going to go up and up and up. I love it.
Well, convince us. I thought Chad would find a way to get Echo Zulu on there because I mean she's raced at Fairgrounds. I think she trained over at Fairgrounds, I believe, over the winter, right, Chad? I mean, but Chad's saying, sorry, honey, I gotta go somewhere else here. Paul, convince us all on Echo Zulu. Tell us why we're wrong.
Well, you know, as I put in the write-up, you know, the horse was the 2-year-old champion filly. She was the winter book favorite for the Oaks. You know, didn't want the 1 1/8 of the Oaks. Asmussen gave her a big freshening and has decided to bring her back as a one-turn sprinter. And I just think that's the right move. I think she's going to be a very good one-turn sprinter. Now, as I point out, she doesn't have a 3-digit buyer, which others in here do. But I mentioned it last week on Monday, I guess it was, Howard. The days are all running together. When we did the show after the draw, I'm not really all that concerned with the far outside post at 7 furlongs. I'd be much more concerned at 6. I think she gets the right trip. You know, Chad makes good points. CC is tough. You know, obviously obligatory is with the right race flow is tough. I think it's going to be either Goodnight Olive getting another trip, or I think that Echo Zulu definitely could get the right trip from out there. And those are the 2 I'll be using on top.
Chad, I want to finish our conversation of this race with asking you about Echo Zulu. You know this horse real well. You know the connections real well. You don't have her in the top 3. Why don't you piggyback off of what Paul said? Is it just the wide post? You don't think she's as good as she was her 2-year-old year? What is it about Echo Zulu that sort of turns you away from this horse?
They've been very careful with her this year. They haven't run her a lot. I don't have any details as to why not. The post does bother me a little bit, but Paul, I could tell you this. Watch how Marsalis runs tomorrow in the 3rd race. She's been working with Marsalis. So he's a nice horse. I mean, he's a really nice sprinter. He's an allowance type horse. I don't think he's got a stakes win yet. But she's been working with him, and not saying one's why work the other or anything like that. Maybe those clock reports from DRF or something will tell you that. But just to keep that in mind, not that it really means a hell of a lot. But, 6 to 1 on her on the outside, I think that's a great price. I mean, she hasn't been close to that. I mean, 2 starts back in the Oaks, she was 4 to 1, but that was, everybody knew she didn't want to go that far. And this has kind of been the plan to cut her back. I just don't know. She's still very lightly raced this year. Only her 2nd start since the Oaks. All that kind of means something. I don't know. I don't know if she's right. She's not right. Steve's not gonna run her if she's not right. Obviously, I just think she's against some tough sprinters here, man. I mean, I'd want at least 6 to 1 to even put her on a horizontal ticket. I'd like to get at least 6 to 1, maybe a little higher on her for that. We'll see. We'll see how she does.
I'm going to give you, Howard. I have a very interesting stat on 3-year-olds in this race. 3-year-olds in this race, 3 for 38. Mm-hmm. Obviously multiple 3-year-olds. However, they've won 3 of the last 4.
Right.
So the 3-year-olds are trying, including CC last year.
Yeah.
Not CC. What CC would
Gamine. Gamine won.
Gamine won it as a 3-year-old. So the 3-year-olds are trending in this race.
Yeah.
Huh. I just want to finish by saying I agree with Chad. Akazu doesn't pass horses. I mean, I don't see a scenario realistically. I mean, it's horse racing. Shit, things can happen. How is she not going to be 3 or 4 wide? Number one, and number two, she's going to have to chase a lot of speed, and then you know, I don't think she's getting the lead. Like rate and then hold off good close. Like Chad, I just don't envision it. I don't wish any bad things upon this horse. I don't see it, but we'll see. We could be wrong. Maybe Paul's gonna be right. If you're a fan of Paul and Echo Zulu, I'm sure you hope that we are right. All right, let's move. Let's move on, guys, to the next race. Race 4. It's the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's of course they're all grade ones. This is another $1 million race. Let me take that off the screen there. They're going. Sorry, it's a turf sprint. Excuse me, turf sprint. $1 million race. 5.5 furlongs. We all know who's here, guys. This is just one of the most exciting horses in horse racing. Of course, it's a big field. There's the Florida bred. People forget this is a Florida bred, by the way. Golden Pal again. Wesley Ward. There's Irad, who might have another big day on the biggest stage. Let me go ahead and switch our banners over. And again, I apologize because I'm going to have to switch this and make it a scroll. There we go. There we go. And 8888. Okay, I guess we're not trying to be Golden Pal, Chad.
No, I don't. I've tried to be Golden Pal. First off, let me just say that it didn't work out well for me. He's just, I mean, Irad just breaks and goes, and now you're playing on his home turf, Wesley Ward's home turf. Everything's going this horse's way. I think he's right now. I'm not worried about really. He got the perfect post that he likes to go from. He likes to be a little outside like that. I mean, what can you say? He loves Keeneland. I mean, this is, to me, this is a free square. And to be honest with you, this is okay, these sprinters, but I don't even think they're as good as last year.
Really? I was going to ask you about that. Well, let's look at last year's field and let's talk about it just for a little bit, because I actually was going to say go the other way with your comment. There's last year's field. Go ahead and talk about it if you'd like, Chad.
I mean, I'm not on all PPs on all of them, but you got 2 of them coming back here. I thought Fast Boat was a nice horse at a price last year. It was decent. Kamari's a nice horse, but obviously she wants dirt a little more than turf. Full Field Santa Anita. I don't know. I mean, I just don't see that much in his way this year, to be honest with you. And I'm not really sure about some of the Euros, but I did watch some of those replays, and I don't think they're going to outbreak him. So if he breaks, he's gone. See you later.
Well, Creative Force I did a very deep dive in all the Euros. I think Chad, we did a really good show here with Davey Lane covering the Euros, episode 197. For all you out there that, have not seen our Euro preview, it was episode 197 with an excellent handicapper from the UK, Davey Lane. We showed a lot of replays, Chad. We talked about a lot of horses. He thought Creative Force was actually interesting. I'm talking when I say he, I'm talking about Davey. He's not concerned about the inside draw. He's been facing group 1s left and right. He thought this was the best Euro, actually.
I picked him second. So
yeah, you got him second.
I like him underneath for sure. And if he did, I'm glad to hear that the inside post didn't bother. He likes him despite that, because that was my one big concern, was that inside post in a large field like this.
He's only 2 lengths off. He's only 2 lengths off of Kinross, who's a serious horse, Chad. So
right. This horse wants to sprint, and I think you got to look at everything Appleby brings over here, and 10-1's pretty juicy. That was kind of my other, I wouldn't say A pick, but definitely the B pick for underneath.
You want to quickly talk about Brand, who won last time? This is your third choice, who won at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, Brand, and I liked him that day. I bet on this horse that day, and I kind of put him. I said, man, he might be tough if he gets to Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup, and he pops up 15-1. He had a really good workout at Keeneland the other last week. Has early speed. I think his tactical can sit right there. This kid Shimano, I mean, he's tough, man. I like this kid. He tries hard. He rides hard. He usually puts horses in good position to finish. I just like this horse's guts. I mean, he runs hard, and he gets his trip. I think for a long shot price, I like this horse underneath. Maybe Keeman, Superfect underneath, Golden Pal or something like that. I just like this race last time, and I think he can duplicate it with some tactical speed. He might be all right. I like your thinking there.
Someone's got to close, obviously. And the turn back, might be a little short for him, but we'll see. He's only a 4-year-old, and Sadler knows how to win races. So, Paul, you and I both have the 6 in second, and I've been listening to a lot of people about how Highfield Princess. This is sort of the glamour girl, right now, especially in the sprint division in Europe. She's a complete freakazoid. But again, there's just a lot of questions in this kind of race for a Euro to come over. Glass Slippers did it last year, though. Paul?
Well, the Euros are 1 for 16 in this race. We talked about this the other night.
Yeah.
If you're going to beat the Euros on turf, this is the race to do it. And Howard, I've been looking for a way to beat Golden Pals. Similar to Chad. I'm with you, Chad. I've been trying, and I fully intended going into this race to do the same thing. But, you and I talked before we came on the air, Howard. One of the issues is he is on the gate every time. He just never misses his break, which means it's other than Ascot when I read wasn't looking. Other than that, but it's very difficult if unless he does miss his break, which he doesn't do. So I'm proving I'm not going to be that stubborn. I am just going to go with Golden Pal as my A here. And although depending on the price, Howard. This Highfield Princess, as you say, is very highly regarded over there. And it could be one of those races where after the race you say, how the hell did a Euro just pay $10 in a turf race?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We appreciate the comments from Simon O'Neill. Simon, welcome to the show. I don't think we've seen your name before. Simon is not a big fan of horses coming back out of Champions Day, which is basically the European Breeders' Cup, for England, et cetera, in France. So I've seen horses come back and do just fine. I think it's very situational. But Simon, your point is taken. Pete, there's really not too much to add to this race, but if you like to talk about the 7, I'll talk a little bit about 11, and we can move on.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say about Highfield Princess is that she likes to be sort of forwardly placed. So if she does try and chase Golden Pal, then maybe where the sort of the angle Chad's going with is sort of tossing her and going with some other long shots. If she tries to chase and maybe gets worn down and it's not used to chasing a horse with that much speed, I think that could be a play if you're looking to find some prices underneath. Arrest Me Red, I just always liked that horse. I think he's at his best at 5.5 furlongs, which he doesn't get to do enough. And so when he does, though, he runs really well. I mean, he won his last 2, or actually he's won his last 3. He's 3 for 4. He's just good at this distance, and he's a good quality horse. It's Wesley Ward again, the other. Other. So how many times do we say that? The other. Would it be shocking if it comes Golden Pal, Arrest Me Red? And Arrest Me Red has a little bit of tactical ability to not necessarily get cooked in that pace and can maybe sit off. And if somebody tries to go with Golden Pal, Arrest Me Red can get sort of first run on them and maybe at least just clunk up for second. I'm not sure he's a win candidate necessarily, but if we're looking for just underneath and we all want a single Golden Pal, then let's go for a price.
Guys, go ahead, Chad.
It's crazy. Keep Arrest Me Red's PPs up there for a minute. The horse is 15-1. And look at his PPs. Look what his odds have been.
I mean, right, Chad. He's been basically the favorite
every time,
or second choice probably in every race. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy. But that's what you get on these days.
Breeders' Cup, boys and girls.
Right. Yeah, that's what you get on these kind of days.
It's great, isn't it? Simon also mentioned in the chat that Found is the only horse that's actually won out of British Champions Day. Simon, I'm assuming that's true, so thank you. I had to look at research. But if that's true, guys, keep that in mind when we get to modern games and horses coming, the bigger 2-turn turf races coming out of that Champions Day. So I believe the Platinum Queen ran on Champions Day, right, at Ascot?
Yes.
Probably so.
Running the Friday, the 2-year-old, right?
Did she, or did she run it on the was she at Ascot or was she on the long
it was
shot
Ascot, but it was they run it like on the 5 furlong straight. I'm pretty sure maybe you guys can look that up. But anyway,
I think there's a big reason for that though too, right? I mean, those trainers over there and those owners, they point for that race.
Yeah,
that's like, and then if they win or do good, they go, oh, hey, let's take a shot at the Breeders' Cup. So it's almost like a, hey, let's go have a trip to America kind of thing. And I think that kind of plays into it because that Champions thing is their big goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I want to quickly talk about the 11 and Patrick Kunzel. Sorry, Patrick, not taking Go Bears Go in this race. No chance. Let's not forget about Casa Creed, guys. Okay, this horse, I'll go full screen with the PPs. again, I don't know if he can win. I don't know if the pace is going to set up. What the hell has this horse done wrong this year? Nothing. Ran great in the Jaipur. I was there in person. So was Paul. Excuse me. An unbelievable ride by Asayas to tip out and beat Arrest Me Red, who we just talked about. Then surprised me actually. Won the 4-star Dave. Okay, maybe it wasn't the best edition of the 4-star Dave, but went 2 turns. And then in the Turf Mile, Keeneland, Annapolis won, but Annapolis got a great trip, and Costa Creed was sort of wide, and it was a little bit of a slower pace, and ran just fine. I mean, Chad, if this race up, we lost you. That Chad,
Okay.
if this race falls apart, isn't Costa Creed one of the best closers in this race?
He is. I just don't know if Keeneland's his preferred surface. I don't know if
Okay.
he grips. I don't know if he grips that ground like he grips that ground up in New York. And it could be because it's sand-based turf course down in Kentucky like that, similar to what we have here at the Fairgrounds. That's the only thing that scares me is that record at Keeneland. And I think it might be just too short too. I mean, it'd have to really fall apart for him, I think, to come and get these guys. And he's going to get he's going to get a weird trip out the 11 hole, I would think.
And anyone else have a thought on Costa Creed before we move on?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's too short. I think the horse is ideal at 6 or 7, although he did win the 4-star Dave, which I saw in living color. But I think he is definitely a one-turn type horse, but I think it's too short. I think it would really have to fall apart. And I think Chad's onto something. 0 for 3 is a decent size sample for running at one racetrack.
You know where that horse would be really good at? That downhill at Santa Anita next year at 6 furlongs.
That's a great
6.5.
Dangerous. Very
dangerous. 6.5, Chad.
Next year, if he's good enough next year. Don't sleep on Campanelle underneath either. Another, right, Pete? Another Ward.
Yeah, the other.
Campanelle is very good. This is a huge class test, but would anyone be shocked if Campanelle's in the money or right there at the end at like 12-1? I mean, absolutely not. Guys, the bottom line is we all agree it's Golden Pal and then question mark, right? I mean, right. I'll end with this. I've been back and forth with Golden Pal in the last 3 or 4 days. Guys, I just have a weird feeling he's not going to win. I know I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, we could talk about the race for 25 minutes, but the 14 could be the fly in the ointment because Artemis City Limits has to go. And he didn't really go that hard last time. If you watch the race, I got a feeling the 14 is gunning. And I talked to Chad, I talked to Paul before the show. I mean, isn't one of these days someone just going to make Golden Pal's life miserable? Like someone's just going to say, F it, I'm just going to go as fast as I can. Like Golden Pal's really never like faced like eyeball to eyeball from start to finish. Maybe he's just that damn good though.
But wouldn't that happen in a grade 2 for 200,000 instead of the Breeders' Cup for $1 million? I mean,
I don't know. You could argue it the other way. I mean, I don't know.
Well, plus
anyway.
that's easier. It's easier said than done to keep up with him because they can't break like him. I mean, he's 20 yards out of the gate and he's 4 lengths up already, and you're like, how the hell did that happen? Or then you know the race is just mostly over at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he's it's gonna be great to see him in person. It's the first time. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen him in person coming up this weekend, so I'm excited. All right, guys, race 5. Pete, you know you got to introduce this race, and you know why, Pete, of course. Race 5, they're going a mile on dirt. Pete Visco, who is the sponsor of this race?
The big ass fans, baby. We love it. We love it. Yes.
It's the big ass fans dirt mile. A bit of a controversial race, I think it's fair to say. Some people find this race interesting and like it. Others completely loathe this race and wish it never existed.
It gets treated like ass, Howard. Basically, that's why it's a good name. It gets treated like ass in the public. Nobody likes it.
Well, I don't know about nobody, but there are some people who don't like it. That's for sure. I think this race is interesting every year. Frankly, I don't mind this race at all. That's just my personal opinion. There's the field there. We've a pretty decent favorite here. The number 7, Cody's Wish. Modern Alvarado. Chad, as I bring us on screen here and we go to your top choice, we've talked about Cody's Wish on this show just because it's an unbelievable story. We're not going to get into it again, but Paul knows the young man Cody very well. I actually interviewed him indirectly, and I'll let Paul talk about it. This horse is good. He's a closer. You are going with a horse. Wow, look at this. 3 of us going with, wow, is there some cyberknife love out there tonight? Chad, I completely agree with you. Not only do I like the horse, I think this post is perfect in this situation.
I love this horse too. I think he's going to get a good trip, a good stalking trip. He's coming in raging form. I think Brad's going to have this horse ready to roll, and I like the way he's. I just like Cyberknife. I've been a big fan. I bet him in the Haskell. I had a future Derby ticket on this horse when he was down here at the Fairgrounds talking to Brad
you've
about
seen him train. You've seen. I mean, Chad. One of the great reasons why we have this show is there aren't a lot of people that guess that we can say I've seen these horses work and train and connections. You've got some inner workings going on. Talk about what you saw in the Kentucky Derby season here for Cyberknife.
No, he's a really good workhorse. The problem with him was earlier in the year he was very immature. Some of his races, Brad knows it took him a long time to come around, and he really didn't start to come around until after the Kentucky Derby. And it's one of those things where the light switch goes on, and he's a talented horse, and his mind finally caught up with his talent. And you've seen what he's done the second half of this year. I mean, he hasn't done much wrong. I don't hold that Parks race against him in Pennsylvania Derby. That track is a very, very weird track. And, he didn't run a bad race that day. Taba's an excellent horse. Zandon's a good 3-year-old. I just think, this mile, this cutback for Brad, as soon as that race was over, I think they knew they wanted to go here. And I think 9-2 is a very square price on him. I'm not very I kind of feel like you do. You think Golden Pal, you got that weird feeling he might lose. I think Cody's Wish going a two-turn mile here is something he's not really used to. And I think for the price and the story, and I think the story is great, but the public latches onto that may drop his price a couple more points down. And I just think he's beatable, and I like Cyberknife maybe for a little mild upset.
Oh, he's definitely beatable. Chad, I want to bring this up. I was very Pete and Paul, I don't know if you remember this. We obviously covered the Parks Derby. I was very much against Cyberknife. I think Peter or Paul liked Cyberknife. I can't recall. Listen, I'm wrong all the time, but I happen to be right about this one. I very distinctly remember, Chad, that they were sort of wishy-washy with Cyberknife going to the Pennsylvania Derby. Do you guys remember that? They're like, maybe we'll go, maybe we won't, maybe we'll rest him up for the Breeders' Cup. And I didn't like that indecision from Brad Cox. And he ran like a horse that just wasn't interested. He didn't have the same closing kick. There's something about him I didn't like, which is actually another reason, Chad, why I like him even more here, because people are going to see that last race and be a little bit dirtied up. And Simon, I'll answer that question. Thanks for bringing that up, Pete. I love this post. There's a lot of speed on the inside. Pete, let's talk about it. You got the 7. Paul, I'm going to go to you. Sorry, Pete.
That's all right.
There's a lot of speed on the inside here, Paul. Slow down, Andy. Not real fast, but it's the rail. He has to go. Simplification, this is a horse we've talked about, Paul. He's going to have to go because I know Sana wanted him to go last time. Pipeline is the speed of the race. And then you got, Gunite's not slow. Lord River's definitely going. Paul, I think that Cyberknife's just going to tuck into a great spot. He doesn't have to have the lead. I'm not worried about the post at all, really.
No, I really like this horse. And I'll tell you, if you want to look at a great race, go back and watch the Travers. Okay, this one actually, Giroux sent him to the lead from the rail, okay, and he got passed early by Epicenter and runs second. He ends up holding second, and he holds off the likes of Zandon, the immortal Rich Strike, Artorias, who was a pretty hotshot Chad horse going into that race. Early Voting, who won the Preakness. Early Voting went completely backwards. This horse, my work here is done.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going and, holds off. I think he only held second by a nose. Zandon is going to come flying late here, but he, every reason to just pack it in here. And he kept running, and this is a quarter mile shorter. This Travers will show you that he can be tactical enough to get good position because he went to the lead in that race, albeit at 1.25 miles. So I like him a lot, and simplification underneath is perhaps my strongest opinion of the weekend.
Yeah, well, Paul, I'm going to let you talk about simplification in a second because I know you want to talk about him. Pete, let's go to you. Cody's Wish. Now, Chad brought up a valid point. We talked about a little bit for the post-draw show about Cody maybe better going one turn. We talked about the Challenger race right here, which was a grade 3. And I remember talking about that race on this show, Pete, because I think we both Thought Scalding was interesting in that race, and Scalding went on to win a nice race at Keeneland that after. So Scalding, are you ready? Scalding was red hot at that time of the year.
There we go.
Oh boy!
There
Should we
goes
have
our
a drink
viewers.
for the bad pun.
Yeah,
You can tell it's been a long week, Chad.
There goes the viewers.
Wait, why is the viewership going down? I
was going to say we're down to like 3 viewers now.
Yeah, Christine and Trish, turn the lights off when you go home.
Pete, Cody's Wish is a really good horse, and it certainly can do it 2 turns.
Yeah, it definitely can. And I mean, I think it's hard to know, but I mean, it's not like that was a bad race going the mile and 16th. It may have been, it's not exactly his thing, but I mean, he's 5 for 5 at a mile. So whether I know there's a big difference between 2 turns and 1 turns, but this, the mile just hits him right for whatever reason. There is plenty of pace in here, so he should be able to work out a good trip. And I mean, he's just red hot, and sometimes you just have to go with a red hot horse. And at least he's not, at least if nothing else, he's going to figure he's going to run his race because he always runs his race. So especially in the last year and a half, or year plus. So he's just going to be there, whether he's the top. I mean, I told you during the week, I just thought this was a pure 4-horse race, and whichever one you like out of those 4 is where you land. But I think they're all 4 of them are equally viable and have almost equal chances to win, in my opinion.
Gary Caloroso, thanks, Gary, for joining the show. He's my kind of guy. That's a hot take. I agree. Gary, I agree with you. Thanks, Gary. You're a new face, new name there. Thanks for joining the show. Pete, quickly talk about the 6, because I think Laurel River's going to be the favorite, by the way. I really think Laurel River will be the favorite in this race. I know the morning line's 9-2. Quickly talk about Laurel River, and then Paul, we'll talk about simplification and move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Laurel River is another one who's just finished the year. If you look at the PPs, finished the year with a monster race, winning by 11, then is off for whatever that is, 10 months, comes back, still I mean, again, we're talking about optional claimers, but still fires the way you'd want a horse to fire coming back that you think has some potential, then goes right into the Pat O'Brien. Again, maybe not the greatest field. I know you and I like American Theorem, though, in the sprint a little bit later. So it's not the best field, but it's a good enough field, and then pops a 108 buyer. I just think this one's red hot. It's Baffert. It's Irad. I mean, Baffert can definitely get these horses ready, especially at a distance like this. So I just think, again, you're just going with form, pure red hot, and an improving horse who hasn't run all that much and has only gone past, at 7 and up 3 times and has won all 3 of them pretty convincingly.
Chad, my one concern about this horse, then we'll go to Paul. This is not California tracks, right? I mean, California tracks, you want to be forwardly placed. I'm not saying Laurel River can't do it at Keeneland, and Keeneland can be speed favoring at times too. This is just a totally different surface that Laurel River has never run on, and sometimes these West Coast horses don't react well to it.
They don't, but I mean, been around long enough, and you guys been around long enough too. That speed travels well east. I mean, it usually travels pretty well. This is the one race, and I know the dirt mile hasn't been around a long time, but it's the one race Bob Baffert hasn't won. No. He's never won this race before, but
some people hope he doesn't win on Saturday either, probably.
It's kind of interesting though. I mean, in that Pat O'Brien, he wasn't bet. I mean, he was almost 7-1 that day. They bet American Theorem, I believe, in that race, and Senor Buscador is in that race too. It's kind of weird that they didn't bet him that day. I don't know if, usually those Bafferts, he put those graded stakes races in California on the dirt. They usually take a lot more money than 7-1. So how high really were they on him? I don't know.
Speaker's Corner was in that one, Chad, and that's who took all the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even which and that one was flamed out that day and has been on a downward trend. But go ahead.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, you can't use them all, kind of thing, and I'm just kind of against Baffert here.
Yeah. Paul, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna actually keep it full screen. Simplification was my horse in this race until I switched to Cyber Knight. But Simplification, Paul, is the kind of horse in this race that is really sneaky, and there's a lot of things to like about him. I'm definitely using him in my horizontals for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just look at this year. It's hard to find a bad race, really. I mean, maybe the Florida Derby didn't come back that strong, and he was sitting on the pace and ran third. He's a 4th out of 20 in the Kentucky Derby. I guess the Preakness. Yeah, you can find a bad race with the Preakness. We talked the other night about the Pennsylvania Derby, which I was there for, and Sano, and I didn't see this, so this is all according to reports, but Sano clearly had instructed Paco he wanted this horse on the lead. And as you can see by the running lines, he was not on the lead. This race, I think the cutback is good for this horse. I think Saez on the horse is a huge development for the way that he wants to run. And I'm going to be playing him underneath Cyberknife, but I'll certainly have if it comes back 2-9, I will not be without a winning ticket. I just think this horse is in the right place at the right time. And, as far as Laurel River, Howard, and then we'll move on, but
yeah,
I think, in my opinion, Laurel River for me is the type of horse that on Breeders' Cup weekend, you have to have opinions and understand that you can't be afraid to get beat by a damn good horse.
absolutely.
I don't like this horse at all. This is a damn good horse. If this horse wins, I'm not going to be kicking and screaming, but you can't play them all, and you have to have opinions. And especially on this weekend, you cannot be afraid to get beat by a good horse. And this is a good horse. I'm kind of with Pete on the whoever you, Howard, mentioned the California thing. That race, I will say, 3 next out winners. So I wanted to say the O'Brien wasn't a good race, but 3 of them came back to win. Speaker's Corner went out there, by the way, because the Godolphin people wanted to split up him and Cody's Wish. So they were both training at Saratoga. Cody's Wish won the 4-go that day, and they shipped Speaker's Corner out there and obviously did not ship well. For those of us who played Speaker's Corner against Flightline, and it turned out not to be exactly the right move. But
yeah. Anthony Stabile on line 1. Anthony
yes,
Stabile.
the big A. I was in the boat with the big A, and there weren't any life preservers in that boat.
Let's delete that show from our channel, right? So we don't have to.
No,
come
let's
back
leave
to
it
that
up. I
anymore.
love Fly. I didn't think Flightline was losing that race at all.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my feeling on the race.
Yeah.
I'm all 9 to win with the 2 to get back.
Chad, I'm playing the BCBC, of course, the biggest live money tournament in the country every year. I'm not afraid to say this, on camera here. I'm sort of thinking Cyberknife's going to be a big lean for me. And one of the reasons is because I don't think a lot of people are going to lean on this horse on a Saturday in the BCBC. I'm not saying an all-in bet, but there's just I think he's better than a lot of them. And it's hard for me to believe he's not going to get a great trip in this race. And I trust I trust Cox in this situation. So if I get like 4-1, I'm going to be excited, and I hope he wins selfishly for me.
Well, I think they allow doubles in the BCBC, right? If I remember right.
Yes, sir. Of course.
I mean, you got 2 pretty wide open turf races on either side of this race, and if you could pop a double either way with Cyberknife into these turf races, it'd be okay. It'd be okay.
All right. Well,
Howard, just don't blow it all on obligatory. Make sure you have some money left to play Cyberknife.
Who's playing obligatory in the BCBC? What are you talking about? I don't. Let me look at my notes. I got like obligatory like 10th. What are you talking about? All right. Let's go on to the next race, guys. Race 6. We're going to actually, you know what, Chad? We'll have you go through first through the commercial break, and then we'll have other people go first. This is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. This is $2 million. Now, every year, depending on the track configuration, and I'm going to show that in just a minute. I should have showed it before. This race is a different distance. This year, it's a 1 3/16. You see the field here as I scroll down. Big field of 12. Point line favorite is the number 3, Nashua, for Godzin, and Holly Doyle, a fantastic rider from Europe. Now, Chad, before we talk about your picks, let me go bring the ticker up here. Race 6, right, guys? Race 6? Yeah. Before I talk about your top horse here, Chad, who's the 11, everyone take a look again. This is the Breeders' Cup Keeneland configuration this year. You see where it says FNM Turf. They're starting this at the top of the stretch. There's a very long run, basically the longest run possible on the turf, going to the first turn. So post really doesn't matter that much in this race, as opposed to some other races we've already talked about, like the dirt mile, guys, which starts very close to the first turn. And I suppose Cyberknife could be wide, but I think he's actually going to be taken back a little bit. and you see the other races there. I'll take that off the screen. Chad, I think that's sort of a nice thing to look at there for track configuration purposes. And by the way, it's not on this, but the Breeders' Cup Marathon guy starts up here. I think it's called the Baird Chute up here, where they run the 4.5 furlong races in the spring. The marathon race is actually starting in that top left-hand corner chute, just to let everyone know, which is a race on Friday. Chad, you are going to go with the number 11. And I got the wrong PP, sir. I got to say, I've gone back and forth on an Italian a lot in this race. I don't want to steal your thunder at all. There's one thing I think we'd all agree with. An Italian will have the lead.
I think so, but I can tell you, man, this is a race where I looked at it, and then I actually took a break from looking at this. I said, I got to come back to this.
I get you, man. I got you.
I can't sit here for 10 minutes, and I'm like, I got to come back to this race. I actually went past this race and handicapped a few more, and I said, you know what? I got to go back to this race eventually. There's a couple of things that worry me about an Italian. The problem, I like her. The problem is, I think they're going to bet her pretty good. Chad Brown, I ended up just basically defaulting to Chad Brown. He's won 4 of the last 9 in this race, in these Breeders' Cup races in this race. He's got 3 horses in here. I think any of them could win. I went with an Italian basically on trip. I mean, I think she gets the trip on the front end. She digs in. There's not a whole lot to go with her. It looks really obvious, and this is what bothers me. It looks so obvious. Everybody's going to love this horse because of the reasons that I'm saying, and that's when you kind of want to go the other way. Like, I'm very, very lukewarm in this race. I think I'm going to watch the board really and see who's not taking the money, kind of one of those board watches and see what's up. I think it goes through Chad Brown. One of his 3 probably will win, but I'm not super, super confident in this horse.
Chad, let me ask you a question, because all of us have looked at these races very hard. It is incredibly obvious an Italian's going to be sent. It's hard for me to believe that 10 or 11 of the best jockeys in the world in a $2 million race are to say, oh, we'll just let her walk on the lead and then try to make someone is going to make maybe not a move like on the, past the wire the first time, but isn't someone going to put pressure on her like mid backstretch and make her run? I mean, I've seen a lot of New York turf races, so maybe I'm wrong again. Yeah. I cannot believe they're going to let this horse walk on the lead the entire, until the top of the stretch. I don't see it.
I couldn't believe they let her walk on the lead at Saratoga that day.
I agree.
It was amazing to watch. I mean, nobody did anything. I mean,
but some of that, Chad, is there was like 4 Chad Browns in the race,
right.
And it was a 6-horse field. This is a completely different scenario, don't you think?
It is. It is. I just don't know who. I agree with you. Somebody has to go.
I got some.
I just don't know who it's going to be and who's going to soften her up. But there's 2 other Chad Brown on my horizontals. I'll have all 3 of his horses. Let me just say that right away. I'll have all 3 of his horses in their horizontals.
Okay. I know Matt Bernier is a big fan of Rougier, or was a fan of Rougier as of about 2 weeks ago. Chad, talk about the 3. This is my top choice. It's Pete's got in 3rd. Paul's got her in 1st along with me. This is the horse, Chad. Well, I'll let you talk about Nashua. Go ahead.
No, Nashua. The only thing that scares me is she's a 3-year-old filly, but everything else, I think she's wonderful. I went back and watched a couple of those races, and man, she's good. I mean, she digs in. She by Frankel, I think she's just getting good now and getting better. I think this is a race that they wanted to bring her over here for and point for, and man, she's got the staying power, and I don't think it matters. Being at Keeneland, the mile and 3/16 isn't going to bother this horse whatsoever. The longer, the better. She could get a perfect trip. I'm interested to see how much they bet her overseas as compared to what her price will be here. But it's hard to poke holes in her. I'm telling you, man, it's hard to find any holes with her.
I think she's like 15 to 8, under sub 2 to 1. Pete, do you have what she is right now? You're on. Sub 2 to 1. I think she was sub 2 to 1.
Let me see on the check some of the other ones. No, she's about 6 to 4, 3 to 2, depending on which one you look.
A lot more. Okay, a lot sub of the 2 to 1. This is the horse, Chad, and we talked about this horse with Davey Lane quite a bit. Again, Euros. If you want to hear about the Euros more, go to episode 197 of this podcast. We had a 2-hour show on the Euros. This horse is a bit headstrong, not in a negative way though. This is not a slow horse, Chad. I know a lot of American bettors, especially inexperienced ones, say, oh, the Europeans, they always break slow. They're always coming from last. Not true. Okay, not true.
Right.
Are they as fast as the Americans early? Obviously not. If Holly Doyle rides this horse correctly, Chad, she'll be about, just sitting right off of an Italian, maybe like 2 lengths off. And then if this horse is within a length and a half to 2 lengths of an Italian on the far turn, I think it's over. There's no possible way if this horse breaks, she's that far off.
Right.
Unless an Italian goes like 45. The whole key to each out of this entire race is just watch Nashua's break. If Holly Doyle breaks well, she's going to be relatively close to the pace, and an Italian is not going to get away with murder. At least that's my opinion. Let's get some other opinions here from these other guys. Paul, you got an Italian second. You've got the 12, Paul, third. I have a I'm curious to hear what Chad thinks. I know Chad doesn't have this horse in the top 3. I have a very, very, very strong opinion on Moira. Paul, you got this horse third.
Yeah, I think Moira could be a major factor in this race, and if she runs off, I won't be shocked either. The post isn't great. She's going to Frankie Dettori, huge upgrade. We've talked to death about the terrible trip that she had in the Woodbine race. I could not agree with Chad more on the in Italian thing. I'm looking at my ABC grid, Chad, and I hate when I have this happen. The 11 is what I would call a defensive A. And I hate having a defensive A, to the point where I'm gonna reserve the right, Professor Kravitz, to change my paper before it gets turned into Naira Bets on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but I will say I've been trying to beat in Italian. She did run very well the last 2 times, but this is a race to be won by a Euro. And as far as the 3-year-old, Chad, if you want to feel better, 10 Euros have won this race. 6 of them have been 3-year-olds.
Oh wow!
And
actually, the other side of that is North American 3-year-olds in this race are 0 for
32 to be exact.
Right.
So this is I'm with Howard. We're going to make it the HHHH show with the 4th H being for Holly.
Oh, I like it. Pete, you've got the 5. The 5 horse. Actually, let me just talk about Rozier real quick, Pete. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Guys, I don't like this horse at all. I don't. I'm gonna take us off the screen because I want to hear your opinion. I don't get it. This horse, look, she was awesome on synthetic. She's a fantastic story. The EP Taylor that everyone's like falling in love with. Okay, fine. She just lost to Rozier. She got a bad trip. We all saw it. Rozier got a bad steady. We all saw it. If you take a look at that field, and we're going to move on here. If you take a look at the field of EP Taylor, it was an allowance race compared to this race. I mean, that is a bad field. And just because they finished first and second doesn't mean they're going to finish, in the top 3 here. I know it's Dettori. I think she's going to be over bet, Chad. Moira is going to be better than the best European 3-year-olds in the world. I don't get it at all, Chad. Pete and Chad, you have any thoughts about that?
The only thing I would say is, everybody talks about the way Keeneland's kind of conformed, but people got to realize the stretch at Keeneland on the grass is very long. So you can make a couple of mistakes and swing out and have a long time to get there. And if you got that long grinding kick on the grass or a quick turn of foot, like Rozier, just keep going and going and going. There's a long stretch. There's a long stretch at Keeneland. It's really one of the longest ones in the country on the turf.
But is the pace going to set up? There's not a lot of speed in this race. So it's hard for me to imagine something's going to come from the clouds. Pete, you got the 5 Tuesday, and this is another Euro. I mean, I've got 2 Euros, 1-2. We haven't talked about above the curve. You're the one that's got Tuesday in there. I've got Tuesday as a B, as in boy, Pete, and my ABC, because I just think this is going to win by Euro. I think the 3-year-old fillies in Europe are very good this year. Why not Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore at a nice price?
Yeah, I do like the price, and you see, I mean, if you look back in the Epsom Oaks, then Tuesday beat Nashua. Nashua had a little bit of trouble, but Emily Upjohn is a really good horse as well, who was closing and actually was the favorite and was closing like a freight train. But Tuesday fought and held her off, and then And then if you actually look, it might be a weird coincidence. This horse's 3 worst races were a combination of right-handed turns for some reason, and then the last 2 were on soft ground, which maybe she just didn't like. So it sort of dirties up the form a little bit. But if you go beyond that, 3 back loses by a length to Alpinista, who was the ARC winner and is awesome. And then the 1-4 back, I don't remember if anything. I can't remember that race. I watched it, but don't remember if she had a little bit of trouble. But I think she's just right there with Nashua. And if Nashua was the top of the board, you're getting this one at 8-1. And again, like you said, it's Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore. So at that price, and she's tenacious. She comes a little bit from off the pace. So he'll have to make a move with her. If they're chasing an Italian and an Italian gets loose, they're going to have to make a move and get this one close. But I think she's got a great kick. And I really like her. I really like her on top. And I'm pretty sure that, I want to say, did Davey like Tuesday a bit as well? I can't recall.
He was a bit wishy-washy with her.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't a huge fan. You can go back and look. I know he liked Above the Curve.
That's right.
Tuesday, from what I've seen, is a little one pace. Pete, I don't know if that's going to work well for Keeneland, but I'm definitely using her. Don't get me wrong. Above the Curve wants it soft. I don't think it's going to happen unless that rain develops Saturday. But even if it does rain Saturday, it's not going to be like a heavy rain. They're not forecasting for that. Above the Curve is more of a closer and is more grindy, but it's Johnny V and it's Joseph O'Brien. This horse can win too. I don't like the Americans in this race at all. If an Italian beats me, she's going to have to beat me, Paul. You talked about getting beaten by good horses. I mean, I have nothing against an Italian. I just can't believe that they're going to let that she's going to get the distance. And not only that, by an Italian too. She ran well, but the 2 back, she beat Technical Analysis. Paul, let me ask you a question. What odds would Technical Analysis be in this race? 20-1? I mean, I think circumstances have really worked out well for an Italian. You guys know how
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
But the thing is with her though is she's not just like a soft front runner who just can get on the lead and needs everything to go her way. She goes up there and she sets strong fractions and she runs them off their feet. So it's different than just, hey, if this horse gets lucky and gets on the lead, and nobody goes after her. They can't go after her because they go at their own peril because they're not used to going that fast, but she is. And then she still kicks in the lane, which is odd for, someone, especially when she stretched out and nobody expected her to do that. And then she cut back and did the same thing. She's able to set her own fractions, which that makes it a little bit more difficult. That's the only thing. And, I love an Italian, so I'm with her, but
I agree. I think she could hit the board. I'd be surprised if she won, or I'm betting against she wins. Guys, we're going to take a short break. We really appreciate everyone out there watching. We've got 4 more races left. We're going to take a very short break about, what's that, Paul? 5? What's the 5, Paul? Sorry.
5 more races left.
5? 7, 8, 9. Oh, you're right. Wow. 5 races.
Okay. 1 week.
The late pick 5, man. How are you going to forget the late pick 5?
I'm not good at math. You guys know I struggle with math. All right, we got 5 races left. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a 90-second to 2-minute break at the most. Please stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Grab a beverage. Get up, take a quick walk. We'll be back right here to talk about race 7 and the start of the pick 5 with the HHH Racing Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Really appreciate the viewership and everyone's support. We got a few comments here. Simon talked about Emily Upjohn, was a really nice horse who won on Champions Day. Not sure about the distance. Interesting for Tuesday. I think I sort of agree with Simon on that. Again, we're getting great comments from people in the chat. Guys, we're great timing here. We got about 10 minutes for each race. That's exactly what I wanted here to close out the late. Oh, who's here, Chad?
Hey.
What do we got, Chad?
That's one of my little ones.
What's up, buddy? This is Max?
That's Max.
Hey, Max.
Hey, Max.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, we don't own clothes around here, obviously. You can
Oh, that's cool.
That's the way to go.
Is Max one of those really great baseball players you have in the family?
Yeah, he's one of them. He
Max, you like baseball, buddy? Yeah? All right. Thanks for joining the show, Max.
All right, see you later.
There. You can stay there as long as you want, buddy. Maybe Max probably has some better picks than all of us, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
My brother is Owen.
Your brother's what?
Owen.
Owen. Where's Owen, Max?
He's right there.
Does he want to come on camera?
Huh.
Owen.
Yeah,
Good to
yeah.
see you, buddy. You got to stand a little taller.
There he goes.
Hey. Hi, Owen.
Hey, Owen.
How are you, buddy?
His buddy's Joe Christopher. He likes Joe and Kevin.
Oh, Owen, you play baseball too, right, Owen? You like baseball?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Hey, buddy.
All right. All right, Daddy's going back to work.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Close the door. Close the door.
All right, here's what listen, we love the kid. Kids, animals, it's all good. Where's your buddy tonight, Pete? Where's your guy? Yeah, we got to get him back
It's
on the show.
bedtime, man. It's 9:15.
Yeah.
It's a school
All
night.
right.
It's bedtime.
Chad, just make sure they got fully clothed, man. I don't want to get in trouble, you know.
Right.
I know things in NOAA, people, freestyle with, Mardi Gras and all that, but
Yeah. Louisiana swamps is hot down here,
I got you. All right. Let's get to the race here. The next race is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I love it, guys. Breeders' Cup Sprint. Of course, it's a grade 1. Where are my banners? Sorry, guys, lost track of my spots here. Here we go. Shockingly, nope, wrong race. I'm an idiot. Here we go. Shockingly, 9999. This is one of the most likely winners of the entire weekend, I think. Here's the field. Big disappointment for a lot of people, Jack Christopher not running at all. There's a big favorite, Jackie's Warrior, 4-5, Asmussen, Rosario. Chad, this is another horse that you know well. We're going to change it up a little bit, though. We're going to start with Pete now, and then Paul will start with the next one. Pete and Paul will have you guys alternate for the last 5 races here. We'll have Chad go after that. Pete, Jackie's Warrior, though, interestingly enough, trying to get his Paul, remember it's he, trying to get his first Breeders' Cup win, though.
Yes, he is, and I think he'll do it. I think the field came up pretty light, and I mean, there's a couple decent closers, but it's hard to close into a horse that doesn't seem like he's going to get the type of pressure I assume that he got last year when it got him beat. I mean, I guess you never know who's going to go and try and run with him, but I think the plan should be, we're going to run them off their feet. We're not going to fool around. We're not going to let anybody get close and just sort of run away with it.
I mean, the only horse that can go with Jackie's Warrior in theory is this horse, Super Ocho. Now, the reason why I know this horse pretty well, Pete, is because I was with Kyle and a bunch of people at the Hawthorne Invite contest when this horse ran. This horse is really fast. Now, not as fast as Jackie, but I mean, 118 early time for him. My guess here, Pete, is that Jackie just sits off of Super Ocho. And if Super Ocho, when I say sit off, I mean, half a length off. And if Super Ocho doesn't break perfectly, Jackie's just going to get the lead.
Yeah, agree. I mean, it's a lot easier. We talk about horses sitting off when they say, oh, this horse can rate. It's a lot different rating off really, really cheap speed that you can beat, as opposed to sitting off quality speed that's gonna potentially get away and make it tough for you. And if the 7 goes, I mean, I assume you just let the 7 go and then just attack them on the turn and blow by and then sort of take it from there and see if anybody can run Jackie's down.
I don't have the 7 anywhere. I just want to state this publicly. If Super Ocho breaks perfectly and Jackie just sits and the pace is reasonable, I would not be shocked at all if Super Ocho hangs around for a piece, third. It wouldn't shock me because there's just not a lot of speed in this race. So not really doing much to add there. Let's go to you, Paul. I mean, Jackie's Warrior. I don't know if you want to talk about Jackie's Warrior, but you have the 2 and second Kamari, who I've heard a lot of people think is very interesting, not only to run well, to maybe even upset the favorite here.
Well, someone's got to run second. We've
Ringing
talked
endorsement.
and I'll be honest with you, Howard. I don't think the 7 beats Jackie's Warrior to the turn. I don't think the 7's faster than Jackie's Warrior.
Probably not.
And again, the fact that Jackie's Warrior is outside of him makes it. Again, hey, anything can happen. It's a horse race. Last race, he came out of the race hurt. Last time we talked about Pipeline, and this is one of the races that I wrote up. Pipeline really pressed him the entire way, never opened up a lead, and he got beat by Cody's Wish, who is the morning line favorite in the dirt mile, and it was 7 furlongs, not 6 furlongs. So, again, in my own opinion, this is the most likely winner of the 2 days.
Yeah, I think she's very live. By the way, Chad, you might want to check the private chat. I just threw a comment in there for you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. You know what? Kyle Roscoe talked about this yesterday, Paul. He thinks that Jackie's Warrior is the most likely winner of the entire weekend, including Flightline. I don't know if I feel that way.
I just said that.
No, I know. No, I understand.
Oh, Kyle agrees with me?
Yeah.
He does.
Well, where is he? Let's get him on. I like getting people to agree.
I don't know. You want to give me? Should I give him a call? I'm not that far away from agreeing with you. I just, Chad, if he doesn't get the job done here, Jackie's Warrior. I mean, I don't know what to say. Last year, he got the 3-hole. Remember, there was that real fast Japanese Matera Sky, I think, if I recall, pushed him hard. He was bad that day. There's no question about it. My only issue with this horse is he's just not been involved in a lot of fast paces, Chad. And when he is, he doesn't run great. I mean, so he's very, very likely here. There you go. There's Kyle.
There you go, Paul.
He's very likely, Chad, but would you fall off your chair if he lost?
I think he's a serious winner. I mean, and here's why. I mean, this is his last race. He's going to stay after this. Steve's emptying the tank, which he does. These horses that have their last races in these Breeders' Cups, I don't know what Steve's record is. I know Gunrunner won going away. When he has these last races, he doesn't leave anything left. And I think we could see a freaky performance, to be honest with you. I think like Paul said earlier, he don't have much to beat in here. I really wish Jack Christopher wasn't here because the price would be better. And he was my single. Jackie's Warrior was my single anyway. I was kind of bummed when Jack Christopher was not announced for this race and say he's not going to run because I think it would have helped Jackie's Warrior's price a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's a single for me. I think the Breeders' Cup team's a little kind of upset because this is the race that ends one pick 5 and begins the next pick 5 kind of thing. So, you got a lot of people probably singling back to this horse. The favorites are 3 for the last 21 in this race, if that means anything to anybody. The only reason why I didn't use Kamari is because I think she's the second choice. In a race like this, I don't want the second choice to run second, at 4 or 5 to 1, whatever she's going to be. So, I just went with a couple of prices underneath. But, yeah, I think Jackie's Warrior is a single.
I agree with everything you said, and I especially agree with you, Chad, about the second horse here. I don't understand the Kamari love. And if people are – listen, I'm here to give strong opinions. So, people, you can take it or leave it out there. First of all, I don't really believe in those 105 and 106s. I don't have concrete evidence. But what I find weird, Chad, is Kamari's getting 105s and 106s into slow paces. That either means 2 things, that the numbers are wrong or she's capable of a 110. Because if you're running that fast with slower paces, that's really scary. But these trips that she's got in the last 2 were so damn easy. And the last time was like a paid workout, as Paul likes to say. I'm much more interested in the 4. I agree with you. What's wrong with American Theorem here? I don't know about the 10 to 1, but this is a very nice gray. He's in great form. I'm slightly concerned about the inside post, Chad, because I think this horse is better on the outside. I've seen him run a bunch of times. He's more like a grindy type, which I know sounds strange for a 6 furlong horse. He doesn't have a lot of gears. It's just his top gear is fast, This horse has done nothing wrong. If he can handle the surface, why not?
Yeah, and I think Pete mentioned how that Pat O'Brien's come back is a very key race, right?
Yes.
Pete
Yeah.
mentioned that. And, look who he lost to. I mean, Laurel River, if that horse runs good earlier, or Senor Bosco runs good earlier, that's a little bit flattering, even though it was in August. No, I think you're right. I mean, I was looking for somebody, a guy like George Papadromo, he doesn't ship a lot out of California.
No.
He usually stays there. So he thinks this horse is good enough to bring over here for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I kind of respect that part of it. I was just looking for, everybody else in here, I just wasn't in love with. I mean, I don't think Aloha West is gonna. I wasn't on Aloha West last year, and I feel like I was the only one who didn't bet on Aloha West last year.
Pete's got a lead power in second. I mean, Pete, talk about a lead power, and then we got to move on.
This was just one that I thought still had some upside. So I was looking for maybe that one pops, and because this it's kind of versatile, so he could sit off a bit, and if some of those other ones try and run a little bit with Jackie's Warrior, then I think Elite Power with Irad can be patient a little bit, sit back, and if not try for the win, then at least try and run up for second. But I mean, you see this one hasn't run a ton, still on the uptake. I mean, obviously this is by far the biggest class jump that he's had in his career. So it's one where you're just playing for somebody in second, and if I get a 6-1 shot underneath Jackie's Warrior, maybe that doesn't pay too badly.
I mean, the value in this race is not with doubles; it's with a cold punch exacted.
That's what I mean. It's cold, yeah.
Other than Kamari, right? Pretty much, I think when Kamari, you're going to get at least something.
Hey, real quick, Howard, on American Theorem, it's funny too because you're getting them at 10. But if you cut those 3 long distance route races out, this horse looks fantastic. And if those 3 look really bad because he lost by 12, 24, 13. If you cut those 3 out, he's got 3 wins and a second to maybe the winner of a Breeders' Cup race 2 races prior, or whatever that is. So that horse can look fantastic, and you're getting that one at 10 underneath. So yeah, I would say play the board maybe if you like a couple underneath. See which one pays the best.
I think it's an excellent point, Pete, and great. Pete always gives out great betting ideas. It's not just about handicapping. Your ticket construction and how you bet is equally, if not more, important. Let's go on to race 8, guys. There's our picks on the bottom of the screen. Race 8 is always one of my favorite races of the entire year. I mean, because I love the Breeders' Cup Mile, the turf race. It's $2 million. These Euros are just every year. I don't care who they bring over. Their turn of foot is just absolutely crazy. Even their second strings are really good. They're not bringing over second strings in this race, though, in general. The favorite here is the number 4, and sort of a soft favorite, at least in the morning line. Modern Games. We all know this horse. Appleby and Buick, trying to sort of allow everyone to get their money back this year instead of what happened last year. Paul, we're going to let you go first here in this race. You've got Modern Games on top, Paul. I will say, I do want to point out as I bring you on screen, Paul, and bring up the PPs here, Modern Games is one of those horses coming out of Champions Day. And as Simon, I think his name was Simon, who correctly pointed out, and we've talked about it, coming back in 3 weeks, not easy to do coming out of Champions Day.
I would agree with that, but I would say that, and Howard, the bad news is if you bet this horse last year, you got your money back because they refunded it, not because you won.
Very true.
Did we talk about the share and competence of the California stewards? Yeah, we covered that. Okay, good.
I think we've talked about it.
Yes. Okay, good. And look, and I seen my share of horses up close, and I'm no Maggie Wolfendale, but I did happen to watch the show this morning, and this horse looked fantastic on the racetrack this morning. Looks like he is shipped very well. He had an unbelievable turn of foot in that Woodbine Mile, which may not have been the strongest race. Won the juvenile turf last year. Again, if this horse goes 7-2, I'm in.
Paul, this is one of the wild moments of the entire year. I mean, I'm watching this race. I mean, I liked Modern Games, so did a lot of people. He was very low odds. Once he tips out, okay, right here, William Buick gave a great ride. This acceleration from here to the wire, especially about right here, is absolutely insane. I mean, these are not bad horses. I mean, it wasn't a great field, but this is Ivar and behind, completely getting left in the dust. I mean, it's not even close. This turn of foot is silly good. However, I will say this. That's the best case scenario for modern games. It was a fast turf. It was a very long stretch. It was a 1-turn mile. It's like everything was absolutely perfect for this horse on that day. Oh, here we go. Oh, you guys okay? I was going to say we had another issue again. I don't know what's going on. We're all there, right? We're all good. Okay.
Yep.
But he's also run well against Baid. I mean, this is serious, Pete. I don't know what else to say other than you're the one on the panel that's not going with a 4. And you know what, Pete? I don't blame you because I'm going to admit something. I'm a bit embarrassed I went with the 2 chalks in this race. This race, just weird things happen in this race. I'm not fully convinced Modern Games and Kinross are both going to run their best. I do believe they're the 2 best horses, Pete. But I don't know if they run their best today based on the quick turnaround Modern Games. Kinross has a bad post and is, got to go 2 turns. It's just the top horses seem to be the best talent, Pete, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. And you're going with a horse that, talk about talented, this would be an unbelievable story. I'm sort of rooting for this horse, to be honest with you, because I love the horse in general, but this is an awfully tough spot.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a sentimental play, but it's also a play for, if this was any other trainer, I would say you're crazy. But Chad Brown, he can definitely get a horse. It doesn't matter the length of the layoff. He gets his horses ready. There's no way he's bringing a Klarovich horse of this quality to the Breeders' Cup just for sort of shits and giggles. I mean, he's most likely bringing him here to win. And if this horse, looks pretty good from what I understand on the track, and if he can come back and sort of regain that form, I'm not sure, the mile, he hasn't run that short in a while, but I just think at 8-1, or he's probably going to get bet down, but whatever his price is, I just can't lose to this horse. So I'm going to take a shot with him on top and hope that. But to me, this is a race where I look at maybe my top 4 choices as all relatively close for me. So if I'm looking at a horizontal perspective, I'm not trying to go like super skinny or try and get down to 1 or 2. I like the ones that I like, and I'm going to stick with them. And I don't really care necessarily. I'm not necessarily a win bet proposition in here. I'm looking more for who's going to just win the race for me, and especially in a horizontal play.
Pete, I know you're the king of I don't care about the post position situation. We've talked about it on air and off air. If you like this horse and you're going to tip him out, I'm sure you've got some kind of trip in your mind. You think Pratt's going to use him a little bit earlier and he'll be like mid-pack? You think the pace is just going to collapse and he's going to come over the top? Like, in what scenario do you see this horse winning?
I mean, I don't think he'll be super close. I mean, unless something changed since the last time he ran.
Right.
That's the weird thing, though. We just don't know. I mean, maybe they could be thinking of changing tactics, but we haven't really seen it.
He's going to be fresh, Pete.
He's going to be fresh. I mean, well, you see, I mean, I don't want him too far back. And I mean, there's not a race with, there's not speed, I wouldn't say, right? I mean, there's
not a lot.
There's not a lot of speed. So it's one where I'm not looking for like some super hot pace to go crazy up front.
Yeah.
But I think
Annapolis has to go a little bit. I think Australia might go a little. Regal Glory is more tactical.
Actually, though, Beyond Brilliant and Smooth Like Straight they're fast. So if they
who's fast? You know who's fast, by the way? Pogo is fast.
Pogo is fast. Yeah,
Pogo is fast. I wouldn't be shocked if Pogo has the lead, actually. So actually, I think the whole key to the pace, actually, Pete, is what Pogo does.
Yeah, because I think that's his game. Yeah, I think that's his game, and he is quick. But I sort of misspoke because I forgot Beyond Brilliant was in this one just because I didn't really like the horse that much. But it's going to be a factor because he has no other method of even being in the race than just gunning. So
don't tell that to Chad Schexnayder because Chad's got Beyond Brilliant at 20-1 in second. Chad, you got to help me on this one. You're off the reservation on this one, man. Convince me. Tell me I'm wrong, man.
No, here's my story. I mean, if it's not Modern Games, this is a dark to me. I mean, these turf races have to be an all. I mean, look, Order Australia won this thing at 70-1 a couple years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I just look, things get crazy, and I saw this horse. I didn't know how fast Pogo was, to be honest with you. I saw this horse maybe loose on the front end, and everybody's saying, "Oh, this horse can't go that." Let him go. We'll catch him. We'll catch him later, and they don't catch him. I mean, that's one of those deals. Second off the layoff, shipping over California, you just let him go. But I'm just one of those guys where, to me, and this happens at Fairgrounds, we've talked about this before, but I'm an all in the turf race guy if you can afford it, especially one that's really like this. And, I put him in there just to talk about him really for a second.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the reason why I put him in there. But I just put him in there as a don't leave him off your ticket kind of thing.
Chad, real quick, and then Paul piggyback quickly, and then I'll talk about my picks. Regal Glory, Chad.
No, Regal Glory. Look, I love this filly. I mean, she owes me nothing. I mean, she's super consistent. She trains with Rogier. Obviously, in the morning, she's strong on the thoroughgraph figures. I think she's, 3/4 halves she's running. Keeneland's maybe not her preferred best place to run, but man, she's a win machine. 12 for 21. This is third start off the layoff. She's just a grade 1, classy filly. And it's Chad Brown, Chad Brown. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if she won. And you haven't got 6-1 on her in a couple of years.
No, Paul, you know this mare very well. Paul.
Yeah, I do like that horse, that Regal Glory. And as far as Raging Sea, the only thing I would say is Chad, Michelle Yu had been talking to Chad today, and I don't know if it was on air, but he did definitely tell people off air he considered scratching when he drew the 14. So that's
really?
Now he might have been saying that kind of half joking. He's gotten the horse this far.
Why, has he had a rough week or something?
No, because of the post. Oh yeah,
no,
yeah, right. Good point. Yeah, good point.
Anyway.
So hey, look, it is what it is, right? I would say that for the price domestic spending is going to be, then I would never shy away from doing what Pete's doing. Kinross is another horse we haven't talked about really, Howard, but there's another potential Euro winner who's 9-2 with Dettori.
No, Kinross is a very good closer. Again, we're not going to show a lot of replays here tonight, everyone. Go check out episode 197. I'm sorry to sound like a broken record. We showed a lot of replays and talked about the Euros. This is the best closer. Can he go 2 turns? Probably. Is he going to get the pace set up? Who knows? It's a big field. I mean, this is not like Goldakova, though. This is not some kind of complete monster, but he's very good. He's very good. I want to Annapolis. A lot of people like Annapolis. I'm a bit against him because 2 reasons. A lot of people love him. Number 1, number 2, he got the dream trip of trips last time, but he might be rounding into a real nice horse. I don't discount him. I'm just not betting him. I want to very quickly talk about the 9 guys because the 9 is a horse that I have in third that Davey and I did not talk about because we didn't think this 3-year-old filly was getting in this race. I'm going to go full screen, then we're going to move on, guys. Look carefully at the 9, okay? She's improving. She only lost 2 lengths to Kinross, and that was legitimate, guys. If you watch that replay of the 4A, she ran well. She's a closer. If the pace heats up, which I don't think it will, she can really run, and she's gotten better and better. She ran well in August in Deauville in the Rothschild against Saffron Beach, who's a nice horse. She was a bit inconsistent earlier in her career. And the last thing I'm going to say, guys, remember, this horse had finished second to Pizza Bianca. And I watched that replay again, guys. She finished second in last year's Breeders' Cup. She got a bad start. She got checked. This is a nice horse. Chad, so you've got your sort of, little wacko idea underneath to do something. Malavath, the 9, is my long shot play to be somewhere in the money. I don't think she can win, but I would much rather take a shot with a Euro like this than a proven horse like a Real Glory or whatever. If she gets the right Tyler G, by the way, in the saddle, who I think won the Keeneland. Did he win the Keeneland meet or tied for the Keeneland? Actually, I think Saez beat him.
Saez the last race.
Yeah. Anyway, Malavath, the 9 in the mile, interesting underneath. Want to throw that horse out there, guys. Chad, real quick, you want to say something? We're going to move on.
Tyler Gaffalione still looking for his first Breeders' Cup win.
Okay.
First off. Secondly, so you know you're playing in the BCBC, but when a horse like this, if you really like this horse and you think it's going to hit the board, in a turf race full field, it's a perfect horse for a superfecta key. And what I mean by that is 15-1 on top by 5 by all, and then 5 by her by 5 by all.
The reverse key.
5 by 5 by her by all. Use a first, second, third, and I've hit some really good superfectas this year using that with a bomb. Just use the bomb first, second, third, and put together superfecta ticket, 10 cents. May cost you $100 to use her all 3 spots. But you know what? Those pay.
I don't know. I'm not a super effective guy, but I agree. This horse could be like a try, or it's a key for third and maybe a little bit in second, and then go deeper. Otherwise, absolutely a great idea there, Chad. All right, guys, let's
Hey,
go to
Howard, real
race.
quick, in case my
Yeah.
wife's watching, Regal
Oh,
Glory, Annapolis, the only two horses she gave me because she was listening last week. Regal Glory, because my dog is half Beagle, half Rottweiler, and Annapolis because we live in Maryland. So there you go. You want expert handicapping? That's the exacta for you right there.
well, I thought you'd pick
Oh.
Laurel River on top too, Pete.
Well, that was a different race. She didn't catch that one, so she didn't hear that one. But this was her only two horses she mentioned to me, so I had to give her a shout out and give
All
the
right.
exacta out for her.
Hello, Miss Visco. Thanks for contributing to the show in your special way. We really appreciate it. Guys, let's move on. Race 9. Race 9 is the distaff, a race that, boy, I mean, obviously the Classic is the main race. This might be the second one because this field is unbelievable. Pete, we're going to start with you first. I got to switch over the banners. You got basically the 6 best, fillies and mares in the country running together in the same race for the first time. These are horses, Pete and Paul, we've talked about all year long. We've gone back and forth. We each have our own little sort of pet favorites here. Here's the field. The Moorline favorite is the extremely talented number 6 Nest for Pletcher and Irad. Pete, no shocker here if anyone knows you. Hard to blame you. Clarier, 4-1, Asperson and Rosario. I'm sure you hope her tongue is healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, let's not have any gate troubles. I did read that they were working out those gate troubles just to make sure that doesn't happen in the biggest race of hope potentially of her career. But yeah, I mean, I love Clarier. Anybody who's listened to this show, I love that horse. I mean, last time when we were watching the race, we're like, what the hell is going on? She's just not even into it and not running. Then you heard what happened afterwards. For anybody who doesn't know, she apparently hit her head on the gate. She bit her tongue really, really badly. And actually, I think the jockey's head hit the one of the gate crew's shoulders on the way out. So it was a complete catastrophe.
I don't know how much we can see. I'm sorry. I don't know how much we can see here. I think it happens before. Watch right here.
I mean, you can
right
see
here.
her sort of
right there.
Yeah, you could see.
I'm going to rewind it again, P, and let you talk over it. Watch the 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you could just see, it's hard to see what actually happens, but you can see her rearing and then just sort of bouncing around. And then when she breaks, it's just, I mean, she breaks fine, but she shows no interest. And that's just unlike her. And I mean, going into that race, she was the best probably filly and mare in the country. She had taken the mantle from Malathat. She had beaten her the last 2 times, both times relatively convincingly, even if the distance wasn't that far between them. I just think she had been so good, and if she can run back to that, and this was just an aberration, then I like her, especially because I can't see her being less than the 3rd choice at least. So I'll take the price. And Chad, it looks like you may be in agreement with the 4 as well. So I don't know if you want to just piggyback on that real quick.
Yeah, no, it's Malo. Sorry, Malo. This is Malo thought going by search results. Go ahead, Chad.
No, it's the same thing. Same thing I said earlier about Jackie's Warrior. Steve's emptying the tank here. I mean, she's off to the breeding shed, I believe, after this. And, this is the race they pointed to all year long. And I'm a little concerned looking at her PPs. I'm surprised in 15 lifetime starts she's never raced at Keeneland, which is kind of unlike a Steve Asmussen graded state filly to not have a start at Keeneland. But no, I really like her in this spot. 4-1, I think, will be a gift. I don't know if we get 4-1. My big opinion in here, and I told people this all week, I just keep telling people Todd Pletcher will not run 1-2. I didn't know who before I picked Clarier, I looked at it and I said, I just don't see him running 1-2 in here. And so, one of them might get in an exacta. I didn't think both of them will, but I think they're going to be bet like both of them will. So I think you can take advantage in this race. I think this is a race you definitely want to play. And I saw that comment about Blue Stripe. I'm in agreement with whoever that was that just popped up there. This horse is probably got to outrun her odds for sure. Everybody seems to be, kind of looking at this now. There's a lot of buzz around this horse coming in, so I think you're going to see maybe some buzz money come in. But
why, Chad? Just because the workouts? Like, why? I don't get it.
I think when you start seeing the workout reports, you're going to see, this horse coming in. But honestly, on the thoroughgraph, she's really not that far off. I mean, her last race was, I think, 2 on the thoroughgraph sheets, and just for comparison.
Did you say a 2?
A 2, and just for comparison.
Okay.
Looking at it, I think.
What's Nest's best number on the thoroughgraph, Chad? Out of curiosity.
-1 last race, -1. And she was a -0.5, -1 the last 3 starts. But Clairiere's 1.25, 1, those kind of things when she was running her good races. And search results is the one that really jumps out. Thoroughgraph's gonna love search results. She's 0, -2, and there's only 3 horses in this race. Might as well, since we're talking about Thoroughgraph, there's only 3 horses that have run a negative number in their life: Society, Nest, and Search Results. Those are the 3 out of the PPs that Thoroughgraph says has ever run a negative number. So
interesting.
We'll see. Malathat was a 1 3/4, but never ran a negative number. So if you like Thoroughgraph, you'll see that. Search Results is very interesting to me, just because I think that she could get a really good trip. And if she's right, that she could be dangerous. I'm just against Todd in here. Maybe he wins. I think if he wins, it probably is going to be Nest, but I'm not using Malathat. I can tell you that.
What? Hold on. Who the hell brought this guy on this? Not using Malathat. Oh my goodness. Why? All right, Chad, let's go, buddy. You and I, Paul. Well, I'll get to Malathat in a second. And by the way, Chad, I'm not sure about Search Results getting a good trip, because the main speed is just bringing her outside. That makes me a little bit weary. We talked about that on the show. But anyway, Nest, you're the only one, Paul, that's got this 3-year-old monster filly up top. What are we missing? Is it just the price that turns everyone else off? I mean, what the hell has she done wrong?
Well, what type of price are you going to get to beat her? I guess I hear you on if you get 4-1 on a horse like Clairiere, and I am a big fan of both Clairiere and Search Results. I like neither in this race. I like both horses a lot. I could see Chad's point. I'm not positive Todd's going to run 1-2. I'm pretty sure he's going to win, though. I'm not going to go any deeper than that on my A line. And if I were playing a caveman, it would be just those 2. I mean, Malathat simply shows up every time. 13 starts, 9 wins. There's just no bad race. Nest this year, Nest virtually the same profile. 10 starts, 7-2-1. Again, Clairiere, that was clearly an excusable effort last time. Although it did happen at the very beginning, and she never ran a step at all in the race, including not being able to go by Crazy Beautiful in the stretch, who wants, So again, I agree with. I agree with Chad. I think it is a good betting race. I think you do have to have an opinion, though. If you're playing a caveman, I don't recommend playing Malathat, Nest, and Clairiere, because your ticket's going to be way more expensive than it needs to be. You have to have an opinion. I like Nest the best. I think she comes in the best form and leaves in the best form.
I'm going to talk for 30 seconds, guys. I love that Pletcher ran Malathat in the Spinster. He was thinking about resting her up for the Breeders' Cup. That did not work well last year for Malathat. The fact that she regressed a little bit with her buyer doesn't bother me one bit. I expect Malathat to run a huge race. I'm only concerned about the rail a little bit, but she was on the rail last time. I'm just a fan of this horse, and I have questions about Society and Search Results battling each other. I think Nest has beaten not a lot. I love the horse. I hate her price and think she's a bit overrated. And I agree with Pete. I don't see any reason why Clairiere can't get back in the mix at what, 4th choice? I mean, it's crazy. 5th choice? I mean, it's insane. So I like Malathat, guys. We're going to move on. It's an unbelievable race. It's pretty much going to determine older filly and mare division winner because Ness has already got the 3-year-old division wrapped up. All right, guys, we got about we don't have to end right at 10 o'clock. We can go a little bit after, but we want to keep moving along here. We got 2 more races left. The turf. I'm going to just say flat out, and I mean, give me a second to switch over here. I usually have a very strong opinion in this race, and it's usually with Euros, and it's going to be with Euros again. I have no effing clue which Euro is going to win this race, and I think it's going to be a Euro. I have negatives on like every top Euro in this race. These are not the top Euros, by the way, either by any stretch as of right now. If Adayar had come over, I think he would have been 6-5 and been really tough to beat, but he didn't. It's the Breeders' Cup turf. It's $4 million. They're going 1.5 miles. It's 3 turns. Let me bring this up real quick. 3 turns. There you can see right here. You guys see my arrow there and the purple. They start Middle of the backstretch. It's not a long run to the first turn, but I wouldn't say it's real short either. Sorry, I switched all the wrong thing. All right, big field. Here it is right here. Scrolling it down. We all know the horses by now. Morning line favorite is the number 3 Rebels Romance for Charles Appleby, and James Doyle as the other Appleby, and the second choice William Buick, who most people think would be on the better horse, goes with Nation's Pride, which just effed me up even more because I liked Rebels Romance more. So that just confused me more, guys. I don't know how you felt. Paul, we're going to let you go first. Paul, you've got 752. You are going with Nation's Pride for Buick and Appleby.
Yeah, and I think that's a factor. And, Davey talked about it extensively on your excellent show you did with him. This was one of the races where I believe, if I recall, he said, see which one Buick lands on. And, I've seen this horse run, and those might not have been the strongest fields. Again, it's a Euro, except this horse has been in America since July. Came here for the race at Belmont. And it's not unlike them to ship back and forth, even a month in between. Aidan O'Brien does it routinely. But this horse has been in New York and then now Kentucky. He's been here since July. I think he has good turn of foot as far as being a 3-year-old. 8 Euro 3-year-olds have won this race. So one thing, Howard, I'm not positive who's going to win. I'm about as positive as I can be. It's going to be a Euro. There's 6 of them. I think it's going to be one of them. I would be shocked if a U.S. horse won this race.
I agree. I agree. I'm against Warlike Goddess. It looks like most of us don't think Warlike Goddess is going to win, although Chad's got her in second. Pete, I'm so proud of you, man. You went with my son, and I'll talk about Mishriff in a minute. This is a very soft pick for me. I'll let you talk about Mishriff first. By the way, Chad, I don't know if you know this. Mishriff has got blinkers on in this race. First time of his career in his final start. Have you ever heard of that for a horse that's won $15.8 million? I think a lot of people would see that as a negative. I'm not sure it really matters much, but it is fascinating. Pete, your thoughts with Mishriff, who has been inconsistent, I would say, lately. Horrible race last time, but that was a really soft turf course.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, Mishriff is as far as career goes, Mishriff is the class by far of this race and has done the most worldwide and has sort of danced every dance and has been successful. Obviously, with the 15 million sort of explains that. But I just think this one, those last 2, like you said, the last 2 were on soft. Before that, I mean, you see loses to Baid, loses to Pile Driver, and the ARC winner, Torquata Tasso, uses the one before that to Vedini. So and then the one before that was on the Saudi dirt. So you can maybe toss that one as well. That's a weird track. So this one, it's running against the top as you get. Coming over here, this is probably the lightest field in terms of top end ability that this horse has faced. Now, if this horse is just it's the last race, he's had a long career, he's run a ton of races, he's traveled all over. If he's just not what he was, fine, but I'm going to take him at a decent price to have the most talented, probably most talented in terms of overall career in the race. I'll take that every time, especially if we hopefully this one even floats up a bit because they see that 13th and by 18 and maybe it floats up and they go Warlike Goddess takes all the money because of the story.
Yeah. I've talked about this horse for 30 seconds. Guys, in January of 2021, very end, I started this podcast at the very beginning of last year. And I actually started my journey chat on Twitter. I hadn't been on Twitter until early last year. I was one of those curmudgeons. I'm like, what's Twitter? Who cares, right? I was a little behind the times, chat. I jump on Twitter. 2 weeks into my Twitter journey, I tweet out, I think Mishriff is fascinating in the Saudi Cup. And I had a lot of reasons for it. I got lucky. I was fortunate enough to win. He beat, really good horses that day, obviously, and at a big price. And Matt Bernier, was following me at that point because he knew me through his show. Long story short, Mishriff is like the first horse that famous is a ridiculous line, but sort of made me known in Twitter universe and to the national public, other than being on Matt Bernier's show 3 times, and so people got to know me a little bit through that. But Matt, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I do want to thank Matt Bernier for pointing out that I tweeted out that I liked Mishriff, and he started following me, and he has a big following, and so Mishriff is one of my sons, Chad. He's in my family. I love this horse. Here's my one point, and then we're going to go to you, Paul. I'm sorry, we're going to go to you, Chad. Don't you think John Gazin and would not send this horse over if he couldn't run? I mean, why embarrass this horse in the last race of his career and put Dettori on him if this horse still can't run? I will say 1.25 miles is a little better for him, and 1.5 miles, not quite as good. You've got this horse out of the money, Chad, and I totally get it. I don't know if this horse can win this race, but just in general, doesn't the vibe that he's giving this horse a chance tell you this horse can still run, or no?
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned. Like you said, it's been a long year. This is 5 races in 3 months. I mean, he didn't start off this year. It's just five races in 3 months. Talladega throwing the blinkers on seems like a Hail Mary pass to me. Why was he 33-1 in that last race with William Buick on in a Group 1? He was 33-1.
Well, the ARC, I can answer. Do you want me to? We can move on. I can answer that a little bit.
I was curious.
Well, he doesn't launch soft, and it was the ARC, and the 1.5 miles is not his best distance, and so I think that does seem a little high, but there are a lot of things working against him. Is all I'm saying.
So I mean, my point. So I don't think they wanted him to go out on that note. So
okay,
Gazin's probably like, we can't let him go out on that. He's got to run better. If we bring him to the, let's just bring him to the States. He travels well. Let's bring him over there. I agree with. Let's not let him go out, with a 13th place finish. He's the one I could poke holes in the most out of the Euros, which is why I left him off.
Talk about Rebels Romance real quick, Chad.
I just think this race is. I think one of 3 horses is going to win. I don't think, and unlike the mile where I think it's more wide open, as you can maybe find a price. I think one of the winners is going to be one of the 2 Applebee's or War Like Goddess to me. I think one of those 3 wins. I'm not going any deeper than those 3.
Well, so you really think War Like Goddess can win this race?
I think she has a shot. I mean, I like the horse. I think, she likes Keeneland and makes her run, and she's tough when she makes her run.
Well, this is the race where she could win because the Euros are just nothing special for me. Last thing I want to say, guys, we're going to move on to the Classic. Davey Lane, I want to be real clear, Pete and Paul, because I've talked to Davey a little more than you guys have, like off the air or whatever. He did say that it's important who William Buick's on. He's also told me on the record and off the record that he just thinks Rebels Romance is a better horse. That you watch our show, he said it. This horse has been pointing to this race all along. Don't discount the German form. Pete, you mentioned Torquedor Tasso. He came from Germany and then won the ARC. So people sort of poo-poo German form. They shouldn't. And James Doyle can ride. I can't. I just can't get over how slow Nation's Pride looks on paper. And he won here. He beat. He beat Annapolis 2 back, but that last race he beat you and I in a horse who could have finished 3rd in that race. I mean, that was a bad race field. I don't know, guys. Somehow I don't feel like that Buick taking Nation's Pride matters as much in this race. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. Chad?
Thoroughgraph don't like him that much. He's run 3 straight 4.5s.
Nation's Pride.
A 4.5 won't get it done in this race.
What about Rebels Romance?
Rebels Romance.
If you don't mind, Chad.
Yeah, Rebels Romance.
2.5.
The last 3 times, 2.5.
Tell people, generally speaking, we don't talk about
the lower numbers
that much.
Yeah, the lower numbers.
Not only that, one point, about how many lengths Thoroughgraphs would you say, Chad?
Oh, jeez.
Ballpark? 2?
A little more than that. Yeah, probably like.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to tell people at home they don't know what we're talking about, possibly. So, all right, guys, let's go on the last race. Do we need to bring up the PPs for the Classic? I mean, is it even really necessary? Probably not. But I'll tell you, I'll show the. You know what, guys? I'm going to show the field, and I think then we'll just talk on air like this because I don't think we need unless there's a PP we got to bring up. We know these sources. We don't really need to talk about it. Let me go ahead and bring up though the Classic right now. I mean, what a race. This is going to be an unbelievable race. Let me bring up our banners also. Did anyone pick against Flightline? Let's see. Paul Halloran has some cojones. Wow, Paul Halloran.
Attaboy, Paul. Attaboy, Paul.
Paul's going to have to go first. Hold on, guys. Sorry. My bad. Paul's going to go first for sure, guys. We got to let him talk first. All right. The classic right here, guys. Oh, yep, right here. Here's the classic. What is it to say? $6 million on the line. A small field, a select field, a mile and a quarter on the dirt. They have the whole length of the stretch to the first turn. There's the field right there. We get them all. Moyline favorite, no surprise. The absolute monster, undefeated Flightline. He's, I think, 5 for 5, if I recall. He's 3 to 5 in the Moyline. Sadler and Pratt. We got to go with our buddy Paul Halloran. Paul, we're going on screen. We're going full screen.
Hey, Paul, he put the 6 on the scroll, not the 8 for you. I think you meant the 8, right? Rich Strike.
Oh, wait, sorry. Did I?
He put the wrong number up for you. Sorry about that.
That would definitely be the wrong number.
Folks, please comment in the chat. It's the last race. We are going to talk about the Pick 5 real quick also. Thanks for staying with us. We know it's late out east. Thanks for
This will be one of those races, Pete, where the horse runs the same as his program number.
Hey, I won one of those bets already on with
Wow.
with one of our viewers, so I'll take that one.
Paul, tell us why Epicenter is going to upset Flightline and win the 2022 Breeders' Cup Classic.
Well, I was looking at 3 potential horses who could beat him. Although, my guy Hot Rod Charlie, I always default to, but never seems to get it done. But anyway, I don't like the fact that Life is Good drew inside of him, although I think it would be a mistake to underestimate Life is Good. I don't love the fact that Tabor's on the rail, is going to be in first. The horse is a little bit of a psycho. He did run Smith did have him on the rail at the Pennsylvania Derby until the turn, and that was not the place to be that day. The rail was really not the place to be. So I defaulted to, if I'm trying to beat him, which I was trying to beat him, the 3-year-olds in this race are outstanding. 13 wins, 15 seconds, 12 thirds. I think of the 3 horses that I thought had the best shot to beat him, Epicenter, sitting outside of all of them. I think the horses had a tremendous campaign. 3-year-olds, as I said, do very well in this race. I get it. Flightline might be the next coming of Pegasus. I understand, but he is very lightly raced. Howard, I think you've said it. For better or worse, he's never really had to look anyone in the eye in the stretch, mainly because he's been in front of him. I understand.
Yeah.
He is an A. I'm not stupid. He is an A, but I am Epicenter will also be an A for me. So there.
I love this horse. I love everything about this horse. Chad, I'll thank you probably another time before we end, but I want to thank you for coming on and you've been awesome tonight. You are not messing around with Flightline. Chad, you've been around a while. We've all been around, this game quite a while. It's been a long time since we've seen a horse like this. I think the tactics in this race are going to tell the story. To me, Chad, it all boils down to one thing. How quickly will Flightline, if he does at all, which we think he will, goes by Life is Good on the turn? How much resistance will Life is Good give to Flightline? Because Life is Good is very good and can be real, real good at times. And if Flightline has to fight, as Paul said, we talked about in the show, Flightline's never had to really fight a horse for a long time. As good as he is, and I love this horse, and I'm not sure about Paul, but we all love this horse in general. He has never faced anyone, Chad, remotely close to Life is Good. I'm fully convinced of that.
I mean, the only thing surprising about Flightline is he's not trained by Bob Baffert.
I agree.
I mean, that's the only thing really surprising. I mean, the horse is phenomenal. There's always, horse players want to be cynical and try to beat the favorite. I don't think this is the favorite you could beat. I think he's going to swallow up Life is Good whenever he wants. I mean, it's just, he's hard to poke holes in, and he's just, there's nothing good. Look, Epicenter is one of my favorite horses. One of the first pods we did, I told you can single Epicenter in the Louisiana Derby.
Did.
I said that this horse he's not gonna lose the Louisiana Derby. He wasn't losing that.
I should have pulled up that video. Sorry, Chad. It's a little busy week.
I said you could single Epicenter in the Louisiana Derby and go home happy.
Did.
So I mean, look, Epicenter is a nice horse, but I don't know if he's in the same stratosphere with Flightline.
Hot Rod Charlie second. I love it. You got Charlie second.
So 2 reasons. One is if Flightline's another world away and they're fighting for second, Hot Rod Charlie will fight. He will fight you. He will fight you to the wire. And if they can't see Flightline and he's 6-7 in front, Hot Rod Charlie might think he's in a race with other horses right by him, and he'll fight you to the wire. And if I get 15, 20 to 1, he's gonna be my key under flight line for that.
Interesting.
That one of those trifectas where it's a $20 trifecta: Flight Line, Hot Rod Charlie, and then 4 or 5 horses for third.
Wow.
I think that's how I can make money in the race, is using Hot Rod Charlie for second.
Okay, I like it. It's creative. Pete, you've got Taba. I know you've been a big Taba fan for quite a while, especially recently. I mean, he ran unbelievable in the Pennsylvania Derby that Paul was at. He won by 3. He did everything well. He took dirt well, which he hadn't done in the Haskell. He's been working well. It's Baffert. You're going to get Baffert, Pete, at somewhere around 6, 7, 8 to 1 in the biggest race of the year out in the Derby with Money Mike Smith. I mean, if you believe in this horse, this is probably a big bet for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reason for me is this one is still on the up and coming. So I think this one still has improving to do, whereas most of the other horses in the race, we sort of know what they are. I guess Epicenter still maybe has another gear, but that might have been last race when he kicked into that, what his next gear would be. And I think Taba still has the ability. I mean, I think the Derby's a cross-off. I think it just might have been too much too soon. The Haskell 2 back, I just thought I thought he was the best horse in the race and just didn't get the best ride and it didn't just work out. But I think he finally put it all together in the Pennsylvania Derby. And again, I don't think he's beating Flightline necessarily, but I think if a horse is going to me, it's either Taba or Epicenter, and that's it. I don't think any other horse in the race can beat him. And I like Taba's potential for improvement a little bit more than I like Epicenter's. So pretty simple for me.
I think 3-year-olds can improve. I'm gonna, and we've talked about all night, I'm betting against Taba in this race. I don't know about the rail with Taba. I know it's a long stretch. I just that Pennsylvania Derby, we talked about Cyberknife. He didn't really fire. Zandon's been I don't know if it was the strongest race. He ran great, and he might run very well. I'm just not a big fan of Mike Smith anymore. I think that's part of it for me. And I just love Epicenter. This horse always runs. Here's the last thing I'll say about this race. We talked about this, guys, a few nights ago on the show without you, Pete, on Halloween. In my opinion, Chad, I think Joel's going to take a little bit further back on Epicenter than he has. He's shown that this horse has shown that he can close. And I think if you want to win this race or get almost close to the flight line, you got to come a little bit further back, which is why I don't like Hot Rod Charlie in this spot. And I've been a fan of Hot Rod Charlie all along. In fact, in the BCBC last year, Chad, it was part of my $13,000 bet. I had him to win. I had him all over the place, and he sort of disappointed me. I don't think if you're close to the pace, that's not going to work well for you in this race, in my opinion. That's why I like Epicenter more than Taba. I think Smith is going to put Taba in the game a little more, which I think is bad in the situation. I think Joel's going to be instructed to take back a little bit and come with that real nice run like mid-pack and sort of be 4 or 5 lengths off of Flightline when he makes his move. And I think Epicenter has a legit shot to win this race, but I'm picking Flightline on top. And guys, last thing I'll say before we show our pick 5, if I'm out of the BCBC and everything's gone to hell and I'm like, all my bets are crashed, I hope Flightline wins by 10. I will be cheering like a knucklehead, somewhere, in the grandstand or wherever I'm going to be outside watching this super special animal. I would love to see this horse just run off the screen and be a lifetime of a horse and just be something that we've never seen just from a fan perspective, guys. That would be unbelievable. All right. There you go, guys. There's our Saturday. Let's talk about the pick 5s. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to do this pretty quickly, guys. What I'm going to respectfully ask you guys is when I bring the pick 5 up on the screen, I'll read the numbers, take literally 30 seconds on why you constructed it, and then we're going to end the show. Chad, we're going to let you go first. The pick 5, against pick 5, Chad's got 9 with 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, with 1, 4, 6, 8, with 2, 5, 7, with 4, 5. So Chad, in a caveman situation, would double his money with Epicenter on the end, which would obviously raise the pick 5 tremendously. Chad, quick thoughts on your construction.
Yeah, it's Hot Rod Charlie at the end, but I agree with you. I think that the downfall of Epicenter is how many horses in the Classic is just happy to run second. Steve Asmussen won't be happy to run second. Steve Asmussen will try to beat him with Epicenter. That could be the downfall of Epicenter because you got Hot Rod Charlie, some of those that'll just be happy to run second, where I think Steve will be, I'm going after him. I'm going to try to win this race. and then he fades. Like he just puts all it in, tries to get flight line, and he's got nothing left. That's my thinking there. Otherwise, I love Epicenter. In the caveman situation, I did use the 5 at the end. I wouldn't really. I think you could almost get away with about a $40, $50 play if you single Jackie's Warrior and single flight line. My first ticket I did was $31. And I was like, I can hit this as many times as I win or as you want. But, so then I kind of spread out just to get to that 100. But to me, it's a single on the end, single on the beginning, find some bombs in between and see what happens.
Now the race you're spreading, that's the mile, right?
That's the mile.
Yeah, that's the mile. Yeah. Okay. All right. There's Chad's ticket. Everyone write it down, or you can watch the show again if you believe in Chad and his ticket. Let's go next to Pete. Pete, your ticket. We all got 9 on top. 9. Pete's got 9 with 4, 11, 13, 14, with 1, 4, 6, 8, with 2, 5, 7, 11, and again 2 deep in the classic. 1, 4. He thinks table could upset $64. Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jackie's is sort of the obvious single. I assume we're all maybe going to have. I like a little shorter in the mile. I like the top choices. I like the horses that I have at the top, and I think those are the best ones. I threw Taba in for the purposes of this ticket for more of a caveman structure, but on my ABC style, I only have 3 horses, and I have Flightline as an A, and Epicenter and Taba as a B, and I was just going to leave it at that. And then again, the same thing. I mean, I went a little too deep in the distaff, but again, for the purposes of this ticket, I put in Clairiere, Nest, and Malathot along with Society. We didn't really talk much about Society, but I thought that was the only horse that I thought could get away and maybe get in with a price. So nothing too complicated. Again, I would probably single, sort of what Chad said, I would sort of single Flightline at the end of this on my betting ticket. But for this purpose, I just wanted to say that I thought Taba was the only one out of him and Epicenter. I like those 2 potentially to win, but I like Taba a little bit more.
We got a big fan. I don't know who this is, but thank you for LJ. LJ, maybe? LJ, thanks for joining the show. I want to make sure we highlight especially our new viewers. Please don't be a stranger. Wow, loves Life is Good. Loves Life is Good. And we gave Life is Good a little bit short shrift, guys, to be honest. I mean, does anyone really quick want to talk about Life is Good? We should have. I mean, he's just going to fold. Is that our thought here, guys?
No, I don't think so.
No. He's the only one on paper
all.
in the stratosphere, numbers-wise, on Thoroughgraph. He's run a -5 3/4, which is really good. Now, Flightline is the negative.
Wait, what did Flightline get in the Pacific Classic Thoroughgraph?
-8.5.
Oh my, hey, guys! If you don't, I mean, like
That's
negative
insane.
like 4 and like negative like 2 or 3 is insane. That have you? I've never seen that low a number, Chad.
No.
Thoroughgraph. I mean, we say
let
low,
me just run it. I'll
means
run it down
good.
real quick. Those last 4 Thoroughgraph numbers are -8.5, -4, -5, -5.
That's ridiculous.
Again, if you're not familiar with Thoroughgraph, well, just look at the buyer. I mean, this source is insane. Anyway, all right. Pete talked his Paul. Your pick 5. Paul's pick 5, 9 with 3, 4, 5, 8, 13, 14. With 1, 6, with 2, 5, 7, 11. Again, another one that's going too deep in the classic on this structure. 4, 6. You really believe Epicenter? Is Epicenter an A for you also, Paul, or just a good B?
I think I'm gonna. As long as I'm not broke by then, I think he's going to be an A.
Okay.
I want to be able to hit it if Flightline stubs his toe. And that 96 is for $1, Howard. It's only a $48 play for 50
Thank you
cents.
for clarifying. Okay. All right.
So
very
yeah,
good.
single Jackie, like everyone else, spreading in that second leg. I said I would go with the 2 Todds. In the turf, I have the 3 logical that I think of the 3 logicals. I did put Warlike Goddess in, but the more I look at Warlike Goddess, the more I think she's beaten really nothing. And then I'm in case I have 2 on the end.
Okay. My pick 5, it's $96. Again, we're all playing ABC tickets mainly. Here's my pick 5. I have to single Jackie on top. So I'm going 9 with 1, 3, 9, 11, 13, 14. I got that 14. I got domestic spending in there for you, Pete.
Thank
with
you.
1, 4, 6, 8, with 2, 5, 7, 11. I agree with you. In this situation, this kind of ticket, Paul, I'm going to use Epicenter equally. although I don't think he has an equal chance to win.
Right.
But in this situation, 4-6 on the end. Guys, I think the mile is deep. I'm a little against Annapolis. I just think he's gonna be everyone's like buzz horse, and you're not gonna get the price. And I'm going mainly Euros, including Pogo and including Malavoth in there. By the way, also the 9 I talked about. I'm going with the logicals in the turf. I'm adding Society in with the other 3 logicals, in my opinion, in the distaff, just in case it's speed favoring, she gets loose, and I'm 4-6 on the end. That is a 50-cent play. Janet, yeah, it's going to be special. Guys, it's been an unbelievable show. I can't thank Pete and Paul again for your efforts. Chad, you just spent 2 hours and 15 minutes with us, and I know you loved every minute of it. We'd like to wish your family well. We want to wish you well for the Breeders' Cup. Chad, I'm going to let you close it, Chad. Any final thoughts for the bettors out there, specifically for Saturday's races?
Don't waste it all on Friday. Save some of it for Saturday. Don't waste it all on Friday. Although Friday's a great card.
What a killjoy, Chad. What a killjoy.
Don't get carried away on Friday, man. Have some bullets in your holster for Saturday, because it's going to be a hell of a day. It's always fun. And like I said, it's great joining you guys. I really appreciate the invite, Howard. And hopefully, you guys ever come down for the wintertime at Fairgrounds. We'll have a good time.
Absolutely.
I'd love to. I've never been there. I'd love to. And for all of you viewers and listeners, I will be at Keeneland. Send me a direct message on Twitter. Maybe we can have a beverage, have a bourbon, whatever. The bread pudding. The bread pudding at Keeneland, the best dessert at any track by far. It's absolutely insane. If you've never been to Keeneland, and that sounds silly, check out the bread pudding. But anyway, I'd love to meet people there. Guys, I'll close with this last thought. It's been incredible 2 weeks. I've made a very firm decision in my head. I could get my ass kicked in this weekend, right? We all could. We've handicapped our brains out. It's still going to come down to trip and luck and blah, blah, blah. I am going to insist I have a great time this weekend, no matter win or lose. The horse flesh is unbelievable. Guys, I'm sitting with Peter Thomas Forental, Nick Tamro, my good friends Matt Miller, Brad Anderson, Kyle Roscoe, and Drew Coatney. We're all sitting at the same table for 2 days. I mean, you can't make it about your wallet in that situation on this kind of weekend. So I look forward to it, guys. We all wish everyone to crush your Breeders' Cup bets on Saturday, on Friday. Thanks for watching the HHH Racing Podcast for all these special races. Good luck in the 2022 Breeders' Cup. Have a great night. Bye-bye.